Brand new Twitch streaming account, and the very first thing that we get to show you is, well, quite a lot actually of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, because this weekend is the Angelcore tournament being run here at Madhouse London, and very, very excited to get a chance to see some of the top players in the country battling off in AOS 2.
Yeah, there's some serious contenders here. We've got 5 of the top 20 players in the UK, something like 9 of the top 100. So it's a very, very competitive field out of the 23, 24 players that are competing in the event over the whole weekend.
Yeah, so what you can expect to see over the course of this weekend, we're going to have 3 full games that are going to be going up for you today over the course of the day, and then tomorrow will be kind of where the rubber hits the road a little bit in terms of someone actually winning the tournament, because that will be when we have our final 2 rounds. If any of you are in London, feel free to swing on by. We're in East London. I'm quite happy for us to dox ourselves by letting you know that our postcode's E3, 2 and Q. We're near the Olympic Stadium. Feel free to come on by and see what's going on. Too late to play, but not too late to check out what's happening. Maybe have a drink with some of us later on, because I'm sure there'll be some revelry in the evenings. Yeah. We've got our 2 players on our table, one just kind of setting up, getting a feel for what's going on over there. So they're in good shape to sort of get things going. But we should probably talk through some of the specifics of what makes this tournament tick. So the pack, as players refer to it. So this is all of the specific rules that players need to know relating exactly to this event.
Sure. So the pack itself, it's one of the newer Age of Sigmar 2 tournaments. I'm not sure how many there's actually been in the UK, but there'll have been less than 10 using the new rules that came out in July, August.
Yeah, not long ago at all.
Not long ago. So this pack is using realm rules. So every game the battle takes place in a different realm. For instance, this one is Giran, the realm of life, and you get that changes the game in a certain way. So in this case, both of the players get to pick one of their hero models, and it starts with an extra wound thanks to the blessings of the realm of life. Mm-hmm. And there is a realm spell in effect. So all the wizards on both sides have access to an additional spell. The spell in life is Shield of Thorns. This basically puts up a Shield of Thorns around one of your units, so that if they're charged, then the unit that charges them takes some mortal wounds.
Oh wow, okay, so a pretty decent defensive spell there, and that each round we will have a different realm spell, a different realm ability.
Yes, absolutely.
And each of these armies has had to declare an allegiance to a realm as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You have to say that your army is from a realm. For instance, Adam, who's playing on the stream now, is from Giran. And each army will have had to picked one place. This also allows you access to certain artifacts that are in the Malign Sorcery rulebook. But also, the way that Angelcore is doing it is that if you are from the realm that the game is taking place in, for instance, Adam now, then you also get access to that realm's command ability.
So this is something that we're not going to see come up quite as often, but as it happens on our table 1 here, we are going to get a chance to see this potentially in this first game.
Yeah, and it's just a small little bonus, but it hopefully makes a little bit of a difference when people were deciding on what army to take. So this one is, I just have the pack in front of me. Then you can basically get one of your heroes as a command point to cast that Shield of Thorns spell, even if they're not a wizard.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah. So it means that you've got a little bit more flexibility in terms of how you do things.
You essentially can change a command point for an extra spell that turn. If they're a wizard, when you select them, then they are actually allowed to cast that spell even if they've already cast a spell that turn.
Now, to be clear, the way that works, you still only get to cast each named spell once per turn. It's just a matter of, it gives you a bit of flexibility. You don't have to use one of your wizards that might otherwise be looking to cast one of their other spells. You effectively kind of get that bonus for free. If he's already cast
Mystic Shield, then they can use a command point and also cast Shield of Thorns to go for an ultimate defensive layout. So
now, for those guys that are kind of catching up a little bit with Age of Sigmar that maybe played Warhammer Fantasy Battle as was, or perhaps only played Age of Sigmar version 1, there's a few little bits and pieces of differences we might as well cover off before our first game kicks off here. The players just getting familiar with each other's lists before they do deployment. Essentially, number one, with Age of Sigmar compared to the likes of Warhammer 40,000 or old Warhammer, one of the really big things we're going to be looking out for is the way that turn order goes.
Yep, the priority roll is vital. You'll see the difference between the very, very strong players who are very good at mitigating the what we call the double turn effect, where you can have effectively 2 turns in a row, compared to weaker players who I find depend on the double turn.
And by the double turn, so for example, it wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing in the world if I lost priority on the very first battle round, because it means that at least I'd have the potential to go 2 turns in a row in the subsequent battle round by going second in round 1, then first in round 2.
Exactly. And one of the... I've got all the lists, Adam. So one of the major differences in AOS 2 is that if, say, I just went in battle round 1, and then we roll off the priority going into round 2, and we rolled the same, that would count as my opponent winning.
Okay.
That's
so
one of the changes.
Yeah, little changes between AOS 1 and 2. I mean, there's the addition of realm spells, another addition that came along kind of at the same time as AOS 2, I guess. It's not really a rules change so much as an additional thing that's come along. We're likely to see a few of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it just swings the percentages slightly, so that I think those players that were depending on getting double turns are really penalised now, because you're not even getting it 50% of the time. You're getting it 60-something percent, like 40-something percent of the time if you need it. And you're not going to win a tournament if you're dependent on that.
Now, speaking of winning the tournament, one of the things that's probably worth it us talking about is there's a lot of different ways of scoring points within this particular rules pack. It's not just about scoring your major objective, tabling your opponent and saying that'll be good enough.
Yep, it's not. So AOS is all about the major objective. In this case, we'll go through it in a second, but the objective that you can see on the table is focal points. That's going to be worth 30 points if you win it in each game. So there's a maximum of 150 points available for what we're calling the major objective or the primary objective.
And that's across the 5 rounds, so 30 points per round.
30 points per round. Then every round there's an additional 20 points available for secondary objectives. And these are much more split out. So the major objective is kind of either you get it or you don't get it. The minor wins are very rare to see. So it's usually a case of somebody gets 30 points and the other person gets 0. These secondaries are very, very granular. So just to go through them quick, if you have a battle line unit alive at the end of the game, then you get 1 point for each battle line unit, maximum of 3.
And everyone has to start with 3 battle line units. That's just one of the things when you build an army.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you keep your minimum units of 10 skinks alive or whatever, you're going to keep those 3 points. If you have a wizard or a hero with an artifact alive at the end of the game, 1 point each, maximum 2. For every table section, which is 2 foot by 2 foot square, so there's 6 sections if you split it up into a grid, where you have a unit in that section, you get 1 point for that.
I may even draw a grid on our little screen before the end of the game, just so we can be clear on that.
Yeah, just to see when people are going for those 6 final points. 4 points are available, 1 for each whole 450 points of your opponent's army that you've killed. So if you've killed 910 points of their army, you'll get 2 points in secondaries. You get 1 point for every hero in your opponent's army that you killed that is not their general, maximum of 2. You get 1 point for killing their general. And you get 1 point for every spare command point that you have left at the end of the game, maximum of 2. And again, that's one of the big changes in AOS 2. I think that's been the biggest impact on the game that we could have had, is the addition of command points. So it's nice to see that in the second.
Explain how command points work for those guys that maybe have only played either AOS 1 or even indeed Warhammer 40,000, because there are command points in there, but they work quite differently.
Okay, so command points in Age of Sigmar 2 are at the start of each of your turns, on your actual turn, not the start of the round, so when you go, you get 1 command point. You can then use this to activate a command ability from any of your heroes on the tables that have command abilities. they all have 3 basic ones. And we remember from AOS 1 that Inspiring Presence is one of those. That's just pick a unit, they don't have to take a battle shock test, and if it's your general, you get a bigger range on it. There are then 2 new ones in AOS 2. One of them is when a unit makes a run, you can change that run to become a 6.
Oh, nice. So you know they'll go their maximum distance.
Exactly. Really helpful with armies that can run and charge.
I'll bet, yeah.
Yep. And the other one, speaking of charging, is that you can pick a unit and re-roll charges.
Again,
So
really helpful to make sure that for those armies that live or die in combat and very little else, they get a chance to maybe live a little more and make sure other things die a little more also.
Or just more, there's more guarantee to get into things now, I think.
Now, it looks like the players are starting to get up, so it's probably about time that we start talking about the armies that we're going to be seeing here and the matchup. So we've got... it's Adam on the top of our screen, Adam Cunis. He's up against Steve Curtis. And as I understand this is kind of a grudge match.
Yeah, they Angelcore last year, 2017, which was November or so. Fortunately, it's nice and warm now. These guys played on table 3 in the final game, and I think Adam just won it. It was a very, very close game for Adam's Dragons, which is a different list to what he's playing now. And Steve, they're both playing the same allegiance still, but the lists have changed very slightly. So yeah, see if Steve can get Adam back for the last round of Angelcore last year. It's a nice little bookends for the tournament.
Now, the armies that we've got going on here, Adam on the top of our screen, he is going to be playing with kind of an interesting one. It's the Living City.
Yes, which is it's a Firestorm Allegiance.
Firestorm Allegiances, not necessarily played quite so much, but these ones, because it's a specific city, they're kind of locked into their realm, right?
Absolutely, yeah, that's what we said, because the rules are very explicit that you have to be from a realm and you have to be from a city, and cities are in realms, obviously, that if you lock yourself into being from a city, then you have to be from the realm that city is in. And
take us through it doesn't immediately make itself clear what figures you get to play in that allegiance. What can we expect to see?
Essentially, most of that is Stormcast, Wanderer Elves, and Sylvaneth Elves, so tree creatures.
Cool, that's quite a mix.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix. So it's the freed city that was taken over by Nurgle, and now Alariel took it back. So that's why there's all of the elves and the tree people and the Stormcast were there, because they helped to liberate it.
Very much the team of life that we have on one side of things. And on the other side of things for Steve Curtis, literally the polar opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. So Steve's bringing death again. It is a full-on monster mash list. So we have Nagash himself, who I'm sure you'll see drop onto the table in a second. I think you can just see him on the right-hand side of your screen on the Magic Madhouse banner. And then there is also a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. So that is 1,240 points in monsters. And then it is basically minimal extra units. There's I'll go through the list in total actually. There are, in addition to those 2 massive monsters, there is a Necromancer. Then we have 5 Direwolves, 10 Direwolves, 10 Chain Rasp, which are the Nighthaunt battle line unit. Then there's a big block of 20 Grimghast Reapers that are the scythe-wielding Nighthaunt guys.
Yeah, functionally, essentially, the Grim Reaper times 20.
Yep. And then he's also brought the Spell Portal as one of the endless spells.
So that means that Nagash is going to be able to cast his spells at slightly higher range.
Nagash is going to be able to do... I think the main thing that it is there for is Nagash being able to cast Hand of Dust, which is a 50-50 to just straight kill a character. Normally that only has a 3-inch range, so he has to be in combat to cast it. But if you cast it through a spell portal, then you don't have to be in combat. You can just measure that 3 inches from the other side of the spell portal.
So
it's that combo.
I mean, Nagash is among the most expensive single figures that you can put on the table in Age of Sigmar, and
yeah, I think he is the most expensive single figure. Archaon is 700. So I think Nagash is actually the most expensive single model that you can possibly play. And the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is not cheap either.
Yeah, we we're expecting a lot to be going on with cameras. We just very quickly just going to go down to our table and make sure that we can hear our players. We will be briefly jumping in on them at various points. Yeah, it sounds like we can hear our players if we absolutely have to. Right now, we're going to shut them back up a bit, but at some point, when we know that there's key plays going on the table, we might jump down to the table. You'll notice that we've got a bit of an overlay, it's kind of a triangular motif on our table. That's kind of to help us signify what's going on in terms of scenario here for this first round.
Yep, it also lines up very well with where the players have put down the gems to...
It's very convenient that our line and their line is almost identical, because otherwise one of us would definitely be wrong.
Yeah, that's very impressive. So yeah, this is a diagonal deployment scenario, which means that they both have to, if you see the line in the middle where you see a line of gems, then they have to deploy 9 inches away from that. So you can see where Adam is currently putting down what I presume will be a unit of Free Guild archers. That will probably be 9 away from that middle line. Steve has the same with his direwolves opposite, so those should basically be starting 18 inches apart. And behind that, you have the whole triangle of the board you can deploy in your back corner if you want to.
Now it looks here like each of these armies has quite a few drops. These are not the kind of lists that are able to use battalions particularly here.
No, I don't think there's not a battalion in either of them. I think Steve will probably outdrop Adam, which means he'll get choice of the first turn, whether he wants to go first or second. Steve is sitting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drops, whereas I think Adam is considerably over that. Going through Adam's list, actually, we haven't really said exactly what's in it.
There's some nice ones, and there's some cool conversions in there as well. So it's the sort of thing that, from looking at the figures alone, some of it might not be super clear. Yeah,
there's definitely some conversions going on that mean that they're not quite exactly. I think things like the Griffin are very obvious what it is, but some of the smaller units, like the Knight of Zeros, are very nicely converted to fit in with the Living City theme. So Adam's bringing a Tree Lord Ancient, a Branch Witch, which is the small caster for Sylvaneth. Then you can see just in the top left of your corner, not on the board yet, there is a Free Guild General on Griffin, which is the big fighty Griffin. That is the other thing that you're allowed in Living City. There is some Free Guild, or the humans of the Mortal Realms.
Yeah, I feel like we're somewhere between sort of Lord of the Rings and Robin Hood and his Merry Men when it comes to what's going on with Adam's list.
Yeah, it's basically that, and some tree spirits of some description. So yeah, there's that big fighty Free Guild on Griffin. He's also made him especially fighty by giving him Gear Strike, which is +1 to hit and wound, and Legendary Fighter, which is an extra attack. So he's very hitty, that Griffin. Then there's a Knight of Zeros, who I think is just there to allow his shooting to reroll 1s to hit on his target, and a single Nomad Prince. Then he's got 10 Free Guild Archers, which I think are on the table. I think they're strung out in the line. 10 Free Guild Guard, which you can see he's deploying now in the... it was a clump, he's sort of spreading them out slightly. Then a big block of 30 Glade Guard.
Now 30 Glade Guard can hit pretty hard, and they're actually a fair few points.
Yeah, they are a big block. They have a 1 use in the whole game. You can make their shots Rend 3.
Now how good is Rend against this kind of a death list?
Much better than against the other types. So Nagash isn't immune to Rend. The Zombie Dragon is, because he's got an artifact that says that he is. So those will not be targeting the Zombie Dragon. They will probably be going for Nagash.
And we might see a few of that artifact because, as it turns out, when people were picking which realm to be from, one of the things that might draw one to a realm is the artifacts involved.
The artifacts available, yes. And the Ethereal Amulet, especially on a Vampire Lord with his base 3-up save and healing ability, is very, very strong.
Yeah, I think that there's a very real chance that we're going to see some Vampire Lords living, as much as they ever live, and not maybe quite so much death on them. But let's carry on through the list.
Yeah, so there is then 3 Demigryphs Knights. I don't think they're down yet, no. 20 Wildwood Rangers, which is a block of the elves that are good at killing monsters.
We're just quickly going to double check our table levels again for making sure that if we need to, we can listen to our players. So 1 second.
Awesome news.
Yeah, turns out we can listen to our players whenever we want.
That sounds really good.
Please don't swear, guys. I mean, you can. This is a mature stream. We are not going to let our players hold back too much, but at the same time, they never know when we're listening.
So that block of 20 Wildwood Rangers, they are especially good at killing monsters. So they're the thing where if Adam is going to go for that Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, those are going to do the damage because they're going to be doing D3 wounds each.
Yes.
With a whole bunch of attacks. It could be 3s rerolling 1s with the Azeroth and then 3s with 2 attacks a model. That's a lot. And then he just has to hope that Steve fails a whole load of 3-up saves and a whole load of D3 wounds go through. That's his only chance to get the Vampire Lord, I think.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, it's 3-ups rerolling 1s, right?
On the Vampire Lord, I think it's just 3-ups.
Yeah, it may be that I'm misremembering.
I think it's just a straight 3-up save. You can put Mystic Shield on him in order to
yes, that'll be extra bit. And actually, I think that's one of the things that Adam was saying, that if he sees that there's a Mystic Shield trying to go up on a Vampire Lord, I think he does have a Dispel Scroll for his mage, and that's his target number 1.
Yeah, the Spellweaver has brought the... I don't know if the Heartwood Staff actually gives you the Dispel, but either way, a Spellweaver, as far as matched players concerned, always comes with a Dispel Scroll.
Fair enough.
Finishing off Adam's list, he's also brought an Endless Spell, but he's not gone for Portal. He's got Chronomatic Cogs.
I like this one quite a bit.
Yeah, this is the one where you can either wind time forwards or backwards. And essentially, if you wind it forwards, then every unit on the field, not just yours, your opponent's as well, gets +2 to run and charge.
Crikey, that's a lot of speed.
Yeah, it makes a big difference to the whole table.
Adam's list gets to drop in units, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you can have units in the sky.
Go through in a sec, because also, the +2 to charge is huge. But also, Chronomatic Cogs, he can, if he leaves it near the back, he can use his casters to wind time backwards again at a later turn when he doesn't need the charges. That allows his caster to cast an extra spell and reroll saves. So that Tree Lord Ancient can sit next to the cogs and basically not die. It's very strong.
Lovely stuff. So plenty of opportunities for these guys to do some cool things. You can see that they're just kind of getting into the last little bits of setup. Now, how do you actually score points in this mission?
Yeah, so focal points itself. So let me just... so you can see the 5 objectives that are sitting on the board. There's one in the middle. Then directly above that, in between Adam's demigryphs, is another objective. Then there's one on the left in the wood, one at the bottom by the unit of direwolves in the ruins, and one on the right-hand side of the middle objective, which seems to be under a direwolf right now. If a player controls the middle objective, where's the middle objective? Sorry, the middle objective is worth 2 points for control. Then you get 1 point for any of the surrounding objectives. But if you control the one on the left and the one on the right, you get a bonus point. So that would be worth 3 instead of 2. And you get the same for the top and the bottom.
So traditionally, players would probably go for either east and west or north and south.
Absolutely.
But trying to get all of them seems like a fool's errand.
Yes, I mean, if you've swamped the board, then maybe you can get all of them, because in AOS 2 you can take control of an objective and then abandon it, and you still count as having control of it. You don't need to leave a unit next to it. So the maximum points that you can score here is 8.
So we've got some little poker chips that are our objective tokens. They flip over to show different sides. The one in the middle, currently unclaimed, but it seems likely that at the start of, by the end of round 1...
it will be claimed.
Yes.
So I think we're using orange if Steve controls the objective, and green if Adam controls the objective. The one in the middle is obviously not controlled yet, because nobody's got to it. And we'll try and keep our scores that you can see on the left of your screen as up to date as we can, as we swap to and from the game itself.
Yeah, we'll be jumping around all over the place, making sure we bring stuff. Our magical triangle of deployment will be vanishing relatively soon, but it's done its work, making sure that we know roughly where things should and should not be.
So yeah, it's worth going through Adam's ability, which I guess Steve has a similar thing. So the Living City allows Adam to drop units outside of 9 of the enemy units, so he can basically just appear from the shadows with any of his units. They do have to start near a board edge or near a wildwood.
Now, at the moment, there are no wildwoods on the board.
No.
How do wildwoods get there?
Generally forests. So the Tree Lord Ancient can generate a wildwood.
And the Tree Lord Ancient, that's the figure just above the sort of the middle base pink forest with a little bird above it.
Yeah, where the end of the tape measure is now. Yeah, the start of the tape measure, sorry. Yeah, he's just moving it. So maybe he needs that wildwood to drop down somewhere else. So it's, yeah. Essentially, Adam's game plan, I think, is going to be see if because the Tree Lord only gets it on a 4-up each turn.
So that roll is going to be a big one for
that roll is
how
very
things go.
Because he's going to look at basically putting a wildwood down right on the middle objective.
At which point it becomes very difficult for that objective to get claimed by Steve.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, on the other side of things, Steve, he's laid out a couple of grave sites. Do you want to just quickly talk us through how they work?
Yeah, so you can see 2 grave sites near to that central line. I can't see the other 2. There'll be 2 in his deployment zone as well, somewhere they're probably hiding under terrain or models. So essentially, Death now have the ability where they can put down 4 grave sites before the game begins. This allows them to summon reinforcements from their previously killed stuff, or to add models to units that have already died. So if that big block of Grimdar's Reapers loses 10 models, let's say, so it's down to half strength, and it's within, I think, 6 of a grave site, then that lets him get D3 models back, or D3 wounds back, which have to bring back entire models.
Now, is there any way that Adam can disrupt those grave sites?
The only way that you can do it, you can't disrupt it for the healing ability, for the either healing or bringing back models to existing units. But because when you bring a whole unit up from a grave site, you have to be outside of 9 from enemy models as you do it, as is now standard in AOS 2. If you just sit a model directly on the gravesite, then they physically can't bring a model in. So as long as you just put one model on the center of the gravesite, you stop them using it for summoning.
Now, what's going on here? It looks like, in principle, it looks like there's the game starting, but I believe that there's an extra move available to the Living City before the game starts.
It's not Living City, it's just built into Free Guild Archers.
Fair enough. They like to have a little wander.
They just have a wander at the start of the game. They're allowed to move 6 inches forwards, which it looks like Adam's not quite gone that far forwards. He's just sort of redeployed to check where the zombie dragon can go. That seems to be trying to protect his general on Griffin a little bit better than he is now, because the zombie dragon can move a very, very long way.
It can, but it's worth noting that the list for the Free Guild, so the Living City, is also pretty tricksy when it comes to movement, and movement is so important in AOS 2.
Movement is the most important thing in AOS 2. That's how you win in those games. It's not about the crazy card. Like, you can have Nagash and a zombie dragon, you can cast all the spells you want, but if you mess up on the movement, then you're not gonna win the game at the end of the day. So that's where things like blocking off the charge for that zombie dragon onto the important models like the Tree Lord Ancient and the Griffin is a very important thing to do. So I think Adam is, that looks like it's the unit of 30 Glade Guard that have gone into the shadows. So they're going to be able to pop up anywhere on the board that's outside of 9 of Steve's models and near a board edge or a Citadel Wood, and then blow their Ren 3 shots at either Nagash or some kind of juicy target, I think is the aim.
So is that the Glade Guard on the board then?
No, that'll be the Wildwood Rangers.
Oh, sorry, yes.
The Glade Guard are just off the board on the left, and you can see just on top of the microphone there's cogs, and then you can see some models. That'll be the big unit of Glade Guard.
Now, Adam did tell me that when it came to his conversions that he did on his archers, the Glade Guard specifically, there are figures from the 1980s, the 1990s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. So essentially every decade of Games Workshop, pretty much, he has archers from in this list, which is kind of a nice little feature.
Yeah, every model is different as well.
Yeah.
It's a lovely looking thing. There's no duplicates whatsoever. So that was just Steve taking round 1. So
all right.
Into the start of the game.
All right. The only points that we'll be showing you here in these early stages.
I believe that's a failed spell. Yeah, first roll of the game looked like a dreadful spell roll.
Yeah, that was just a 6, and typically
The first one that he failed on was a 3.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
There are very few spells in the game that you can get off with that kind of rolling.
Nagash still gets most spells off, even if he rolls a 3.
He's a tricksy one. I mean, I guess that's what you get for being the Lich that's essentially responsible for the existence of the undead in their totality.
Yep. Yeah, it is. He is a very, very good caster, and actually a bit of a beast in combat. If you forget about that, yes, he's a swingy beast in combat because he hasn't got many attacks, but he can do some serious damage. He'll kill the Griffin in one turn, no problem.
I mean, I guess that for 800 points, you want him to be able to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, he should be able to really not just be a caster. Do you want to swap to the table for a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what these guys are up to.
I do.
So,
it looks like he's going for spell portal or measuring the ranges for that.
maybe 6. It's actually 400. 3 guild archers have got bravery. Okay, so I'm going to cast Soul Stealer onto those guys. Right. 6. No, it's not. 5, 6,
Plus 3 for the Nagash rolls.
Yeah, while he's got full wounds, it's plus 3 to cast.
Great. I mean, just do it. So 5. You don't beat it.
Just brave enough, those archers, apparently.
Cheeky little spell to see if he can roll higher and get some of the archers out the way.
You don't have to tell me, do you? Double pile in. That's him.
Can't do it, it's only some of the weekends. So it's the Reapers on those.
So the Reapers are move 8, which puts you 1 away from the line. I'm no longer 9 away from the line, so it's an easy charge for them. But then their second pile is still only 3 inches, so they won't get into anything else, and they'll kill a unit more. So you need 5. There you go. You still need 5. You don't get a whole unit. Yeah. I can't really. I'm not going to be going about wasting anything on that. So we'll just have a charge.
Annoying, that's all my spells are around. Cool. That's cool.
Not such a strong spell phase from Nagash there though. So he's got double piling on the, I presume, the Grimghasts. But it doesn't look like he's got anything else off.
That's a bit of a result for Adam in these early turns.
Yeah, it does help. Yeah, because of the amount of spells that Nagash can cast every turn, it makes a huge difference. Taking turn 1 where Nagash was not in range for anything really.
Yeah, it's only going to get scarier as these legions of the undead get closer.
Yeah, so you know, the Grimghasts all have fly, so they're just jumping straight over that piece of terrain. Basically, it should be 1 inch away from that line or that central objective.
We can now see those other grave sites as well, dotted all over the place.
Yeah.
It's going to be very difficult for Adam to fully contest those grave sites, I would imagine.
Yes, you're going to need to. I think with Grimghasts, because they're 2 wounds each, if I remember correctly, or do they just have a decent save? They're certainly unrendable. So Grimghasts, yeah, they are just 1 wounder model, so there is only 20 wounds sitting in that unit, but they are a 4-up ignoring rend save.
So yeah, that's a lot of attacks, no matter which way you slice it.
Yes, it's a lot of stuff that needs to go into them, but it looks like he's essentially just swamped the middle objective for the 2 points that's worth with that unit of 20 and said, come and get me.
Interesting. So I can easily see how for a newer player it would be tempting to
go for the
launch
first shot,
everything in and try and get a lot of monsters in combat early, especially if your monsters are quite good in combat.
Yeah, but Steve's a decent player and he knows that that middle objective is worth a lot, and death win the grind in the middle because of the grave sites and because of the extra healing that they can get from everything else. All he needs to do is move up slowly onto these objectives, and as you can see, he's taking control of that one. And then, unless Adam can get right round into the back line and take north and south, or can go round the other way and take east and west, then Steve's just going to beat him by 2 points every turn. I think that might well be the plan.
So at the moment, there's a zombie dragon camped very close to the east-west objective, which is not going to be a very straightforward one to deal with.
Yeah, so it looks like he's also using Nagash to shield that central objective. So if Adam swamps into that middle one, and maybe gets lucky and kills all of the Grimghasts, which I think would be very lucky. He'd have to basically get his entire army in to do that because of the 4-up unrendable. Then whatever's gone in is going to get hit by Nagash straight afterwards. Oh, the zombie dragon has gone for it.
There's a slightly worried looking Adam.
That is a very, very fast zombie dragon. The problem is, because of its massive base, it does need to roll very, very high. Even if it fits in that, you can see the gap between the archers and the general and griffin. It does have to roll enough to get the back of the base to pass the archers.
Interesting.
So it's going to be a big charge. It's 3 inches plus however big a zombie dragon base is, which I think is 120 mil, so it's huge.
And you can see here that Steve has managed to kill off some of these archers, and Adam very carefully figuring out which ones he actually wants to remove here.
Yes. Yeah. There is definitely. So he's left it so that they are still blocking the zombie dragon from getting through.
That's a 5 on the roll there. Are we going to see a command point?
So both armies here starting with 1 command point, interestingly. So you can take less points in your list for every 50 points that you don't spend. You get a free command point at the start before you even take turns. So Steve should currently be on 2 command points.
Lovely stuff. And naturally, you get 1 command point per turn, right?
Yes. At the start of your turn, you get 1. So that's how Steve is, I presume, on 2. I haven't seen him use any yet. So I think he's just taken that charge on the 5. Which looks like he's not getting into the Tree Lord Ancient or the Griffin this turn. So he's just killing those archers. Those archers doing the job that they needed to do. Blocking the juicy targets.
They're a relatively cheap battle line unit, but showing their worth here.
Yeah, certainly. If you can spend 80 points in order to effectively bait somebody into a bad charge, I don't know what he. So this is possibly where he needs to then countercharge with the Wildwood Rangers in Adam's next turn, and we'll have to see what Adam can actually bring to the table in order to kill that zombie dragon. But I think Steve's just he's played it right. He said, "Here's my zombie dragon. You're going to struggle to deal with this, so you can spend most of your army dealing with it for 2 turns maybe."
But that whole time, we've got Steve racking up points, right?
Exactly. That's what he's doing. I really like playing that way in AOS. Sort of, you have some stuff that's very strong that takes middle objectives, has to actually make its way up the board, can't just sit in the back corner. So this unit that's come into the middle, it's going to be very reliable and very strong to just sit there. But you also just say, here's a 500-point monster, deal with that.
All right.
So we should see here the zombie dragon easily kill the archers. There's not really much else to do for round 1. So you can just basically watch it. Unless it rolls abysmally, it's just going to take them off before even the zombie dragon attacks, I presume.
Some
The dragon is actually attacking. There's one archer left, one brave archer.
I mean,
Yeah, the one foolish archer. There he goes.
and lo and behold, first blood going to Steve Curtis there. Worth noting, there's no points for first blood in this game. It's just a matter of, we like saying it still because ultimately, if nothing died in Warhammer, it'd just be Hammer.
Yeah, that's true. Peace Hammer. It's not as fun a game, is it? Let's just go to the pub.
Yeah. Well, we're already in the pub, conveniently.
That is true. Yeah.
It's all working for us over here.
Yeah, I think 10:15 is maybe slightly too early for a beer yet. But
We shall see. There's still time. There's still time.
there's time later. So it looks like we're going to be going into Adam's turn 1. So Steve will have got 1, 2, 3, 4 points from his first turn.
Shitting.
There we go. So that's 2 for the middle objective, those of you watching at home, and 1 for the south objective and 1 for the east objective.
We're not going to start trying to count secondaries until we get toward the end of the game. We'll
No.
fill you in on how those play out. They tend to all really be, all right, we've agreed the game's over, now let's do a bunch of counting and figure out exactly how many points potentially someone's managed to score.
Yes, it will mostly come in to play in turns 4 and 5, either because it's obvious that one person is going to win the major, and so the other person can swap to start making sure that they're going to get all of the secondary objectives that they can, because those are going to make a huge difference in the finish places for the tournament, I think. And in round 5, or round 4 or 5, where they're still maybe fighting for it, they're gonna realise that it could go either way on the major, but they still need to be paying attention to the secondary objectives. So I think most games you're gonna see games go the full length, full 5 turns each time, hopefully on the stream as well, even if we have zombie dragon charges in turn 1.
Now, I'll note that we're already a little ways into the hero phase, and I'm not seeing any wildwoods yet.
No, usually that would be the first thing to roll, but I don't know. Do you want to swap to the table and see what
Yeah,
spells
absolutely.
Adam is
Let's find
casting?
out what's going on.
Good start from Adam. Don't worry, swearing on the stream is not a problem.
Yeah, we got this marked as mature content because we're all grown-ups here.
Exactly. So that was Adam being less than happy that Nagash has +3 to dispel as well as to cast.
1 point on the Nomad Prince.
What a monster.
Reroll hits of 1 on Wanderers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that Nomad Prince is showing his worth. He's just popped one of his 2 command points in order to, when those Wildwood Rangers charge the Zombie Dragon, which I presume is what's happening based on that command point going off, they're going to be re-rolling ones to hit.
Mystic Shield on him. Yep. Cast on 7, it's not stopped. Did I bring my shield marker? I did. So it's now 3 at re-rolling 1.
Do we have the chat for the feed anywhere, just in case people are replying?
That's out, which is good.
I will find out what you lovely people are saying to me.
He's going to use his command ability on them. So they get +1 to charge, +2 to their bravery, and +1 to hit. So 0 command points left. That's it, movement phase. Right, let's go fucking aggro since you're coming fucking aggro.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big old bundle in the middle, a bun fight.
So it looks like Adam is going to bring on his unit of Glade Guard over here in the back corner, which is still got Nagash guarding it pretty well on that south objective, but he can easily shoot off that unit of wolves and see where he goes from there in terms of he might make Steve have to turn back.
And it would definitely be something of a coup if he can deal with this zombie dragon early doors.
It would certainly help, yeah.
You see my tape measure?
It's definitely the hardest thing for Adam to deal with. It could well be that the Glade Guard are going down there in order to shoot Nagash, though. It could be, yeah, you can see he's measuring from, yeah,
I mean,
it looks like he's measuring from Nagash, and he doesn't get enough in.
Oh, so you get
I lift at the base, I get 4, 8. Actually, I might get more than I think if I take them off the trade. 20 puts me there. 1, 2, 3, 4 by 4. 24 out of 30. Not bad.
so it's minus
Yeah,
3.
so he is going for trying to kill Nagash, but he wouldn't have the full unit shooting at that -3.
I do 8 wound skill without mystical, so I do probably 7. Or killing. My rolls terribly. So I'm going to go for that. Just killing him is important.
Balls out on the table.
Well, I literally had to. I can't
Yeah,
get
so
within 10. Oh, that's
that sounds like Adam has made his mind up, and he's gonna go for that 24 models shooting at Nagash.
Now, for death lists of old, it always seemed to be to me that if you could kill off Nagash,
Or the big general.
job done.
That was the way before. Now, yeah, it's a massive benefit because you can only summon or do anything with gravesites if you have a hero to activate the gravesite. And Nagash does get certain abilities, and you get some more activations of gravesites than normal heroes. But that would just bring it down from 3 heroes that can use the gravesites down to 2. I'm not sure where the Necromancer is hiding himself. He's probably behind Nagash. You can see the model just on top of that unit of direwolves, small tiny little base there. That'll be the Necromancer hiding his way, so he can still activate the gravesites, as can the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. But if Adam here can deal, 7 or 8 wounds to Nagash and kill the Zombie Dragon, he's going to be looking pretty good.
And as I understand it, in addition to anything else that's going on, even if he doesn't successfully completely kill Nagash, lowering the number of wounds that Nagash has does impact on his spellcasting.
It means that he's not getting that +3. I can't exactly remember, but he drops pretty significantly depending on the number of wounds. Nagash, of course, starting with 16 wounds and having a 3-up save base. So his 3-up save with Ren 3 would go to a 6-up save. He then has a death save after that, so that's another 6-up. And then he's sitting next to some mystical terrain, so he's going to have another 6-up after that.
Wow, it turns out that
That's a lot
the
of
best
saves.
way of being alive for a lot is to be dead. Who knew?
Yeah. So the main thing that you drop as you do wounds to Nagash is the number of spells that he can cast. So effectively, if he's taken nothing, then he casts 5 extra spells. That's on top of his normal one. So it'd be 6 spells a turn. If you start dropping that down, for instance, if you've done 4 to 6 wounds, he can only do 4. 7 to 10 is 3. 11 to 13 is 2, and 14 or more wounds is just 1 extra spell. That's the big difference, and his casting and unbinding also drops.
Oh, it looks like Adam might have gone with a different plan because
Oh,
all of a sudden those
Big
archers,
it's not going to be worth it, apparently.
he's decided it's not going to be the right place. We're gonna try something different.
Yeah,
We will figure out exactly what that is once Adam does, I guess.
yeah. It's one of the most, because once you're on the board, you then can't move again. It's not like death where they can die and then come up again from a different gravesite or near a different gravesite. Once this unit of Glade Guard is down on the table, that's where they're staying. Now, he doesn't have to bring them in this turn if he didn't want to, but it's a strong chance for Adam to get 2 turns here and to put some pressure on Steve, basically. This is where we're looking at the double turn mechanic. Again, if you can get 30 shots off at Ren 3 and then another 30 shots off at normal Rend, you're going to be doing quite a lot of damage to anything. That's where this shooting armies do quite well when they pick up those double turns, especially if you can be like Living City and just pop up in range. Now, as we just saw, it's relatively difficult if like Steve, you've blocked off the areas. If that unit of direwolves wasn't there, he'd be getting all of those shots on Nagash. So that unit of direwolves really making its points, making a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it already on both sides of the table that battle line units, it's easy to look at them when you're building an army and think of them almost as being like a tax.
Yeah.
That you have to take these units. Basically, like one of the very cool things about Age of Sigmar, just in general, is that the big impressive models in the middle of the table are genuinely good. Like they're one of the like. If the way that you choose which army you're going to build in Age of Sigmar is to look through the monstrous section of Games Workshop's website and find a figure that you think is gigantic and cool, there is a good chance that gigantic and cool figure will also be...
It will also do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yes. That is most likely.
But the battle line units on the other side of things, they need a bit of finesse, they careful placement and so on and so forth, but they can do a lot of damage in terms of winning or losing a game.
Yeah, it's what we were talking about before. You can have the zombie dragon do as much damage as you want, but if it's only to a unit of 10 archers, then it's effectively wasted. I'm sure that zombie dragon would have killed the 20 wildwood rangers, for example, but it couldn't get into them in that turn. So the battle line unit's really making a difference by effectively wasting all of that extra attack power that the big monsters have. That zombie dragon had probably attacked and killed what would have been 20 archers or 24 odd archers, but since there was only 10, it's just wasted extra points for that turn, and it meant that he didn't get into the Tree Lord Ancient or the Griffin, so those two units now available to go and either fight those dire wolves on the right hand side. Looks like Adam could be going for the west and east objective route. I'm not sure how many models exactly. That seems to be what Adam is checking. How many models are within 6 of the eastern objective?
Interesting.
Right now, because he might be able to, if he can get the Griffin in to the dire wolves and therefore be close to that objective, which that is exactly what he's going for. Then as long as there is only one Grimghast Reaper, then Adam would only need one more model, which looks like the Demigryphs are going to come and do that job on the eastern objective in order to claim it.
Interesting.
And that would give him west and east for 3 points plus the north objective for 4 to go back even.
So this is a really interesting bit of counterplay that we see going on here from Adam.
Yeah.
I mean, nice movement from Steve in terms of where he ended up positioning those direwolves, meaning that the archers weren't able to get in quite as close as he might otherwise have liked, even on the top of the board.
The direwolves at the bottom, very well placed, but I think the direwolves on the right-hand side weren't really doing anything. They're not shielding that objective. They're not doing anything. They're just giving Adam a decent charge right now into that objective. Because if you look, that Griffin, and the Demigryphs nowhere near that eastern objective, but with the additional charge, including the Griffin's command ability, giving the Demigryphs +1 to charge, they could well get in, pile in, so that Adam has 2 or 3 models next to that eastern objective.
So this could be a very interesting first turn for Adam. In some respects for Steve, his first turn was just a little bit of posturing, really, in terms of these early stages.
Yeah. I mean, he's made it very, very difficult for Adam to go for the middle, which is why Adam's army now seems to be essentially ignoring the middle objective and is working his way round the outsides and attempting to go for those bonus points for holding the opposite objectives. Now, that's why I really like this scenario, because the objectives are so far apart. They're 36 inches apart for the bonus point. So you have to have essentially split your army into a different direction, and you have to make difficult decisions, like Adam is having to do now, as to which pair of objectives you go for, and whether going for that pair makes the other pair really easy for your opponent.
Now, one thing that changed with AOS 2 in relation to objectives is that these days you can grab hold of an objective and you don't need to stay on it to maintain control of it. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. You do not. So once those have turned orange, for instance, the one on the south, Steve could just move those direwolves off, and until Adam gets a unit next to it and therefore has a majority models, 1 compared to 0, for example, that's the point where it would then swap into Adam's control. Not if it's 0-0 every turn. Steve would keep controlling it.
All right, lots of careful measuring here. You can measure first, move second, and that's generally where you want to be when it comes to movement in Age of Sigmar.
So that's the Knight of Zeros that's sitting just in front of that big unit of Glade Guard that's sat on the back corner. The Knight of Zeros, of course, giving reroll 1s to hit on everything that it shines its lantern on. So I think it's almost certainly going to shine its lantern on the zombie dragon. the Wildwood Rangers already have reroll once to hit from the command ability, so I'm not really sure Adam's plan there. That seems like a waste of a command point.
Potentially. Well, I guess we'll...
But maybe he hadn't thought quite far enough ahead to see that the zombie dragon was going to be his target.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if we think about the start of the turn, initially it was looking like the movement this turn was going to work out quite differently, and you do all of your command abilities in the hero phase.
Yep.
Planning things out can be pretty fiddly.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Age of Sigmar is a complicated game at the end of the day. There's a lot of decisions that you have to make, and a lot of on-the-fly calls that happen. So we have to see what happens. But importantly, we remember that Adam did not get his Wildwood off in his hero phase, so he didn't get to put a nice Citadel Wood straight in the middle of the board and then come on from that, which I think was probably what he was planning on doing.
Yeah,
If he'd have got that Wildwood sitting in the middle of the board, then he would have been able to shoot Nagash, no problem.
Absolutely. So here we see a big set of shots here coming off from...
This is the Glade Guard, I presume, yeah.
Pretty happy number of hits there.
Yep.
Step 1 you hit.
I presume he's not using the Ren 3, considering it would be ignored. So those Glade Guards still have their Ren 3 shots for use on Nagash or something at a later stage. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 wounds to the zombie dragon. 4 wounds through to the zombie dragon.
All right. So zombie dragon damage. How many wounds are there on the zombie dragon initially?
I think it starts on 14.
Okay, so some work to do, but
it's got quite a lot.
there's still combat to think about.
That's going to be the big thing, and that all he's going for there is just an extra couple of wounds. I think 4 is very impressive. Yeah, it is indeed 14 wounds on a zombie dragon. Yeah, getting those 4 is impressive and really helps him out.
Because he needs to do all his damage in kind of one big burst, really, because the Necromancer Lord can gain wounds back.
The zombie dragon can just heal back. The Vampire Lord has a chalice on top that he can drink, and that gives him D6 wounds actually back in Steve's hero phase only. So if Adam can either kill the zombie dragon now, then he wouldn't get to use that, or if Adam takes the priority going into battle round 2, then Steve is also not going to have access to kicking that chalice off at all.
There's a big 11 roll there on the charge, so it looks like
he's going to be getting a load of those round.
Oh, sorry, it may be that he hadn't done the roll just yet. He's got a 6 in there, so he should have a fair few in.
Yeah, so Steve's moving the dice. So with the 3-inch pylon as well, they should get most of them. And Wildwood Rangers, I need to check, but I think they have a 2-inch reach on their...
Yeah, because they've got kind of halberds, haven't they?
They have giant halberds, yeah, that are especially good at killing monsters. Yes, it is indeed a 2-inch reach on their halberds. So that essentially gives him sort of +5 on the charge. If you include the pylon and the range on their weapons, then most of those are going to be attacking. So it'd be really interesting to see. I think, as we said at the start of the game, this is the way that Adam can actually get that zombie dragon.
Yeah. One big burst of damage. I mean, these guard, when we say they're good against monsters, they do D3 damage per wounding hit.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of attacks.
Yeah. So they will be hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s because of the Azeroth, wounding on 3s. They have rend 1, which will be ignored. So then Steve will have to make a whole ton of saves on that 3-up, ignoring rend save. Each one of those that Steve's fails will become D3 wounds before he takes his death save. So that's going to be pretty impressive. So that looks like a 9-inch charge for... It's the demis.
So yeah.
So they've just crashed into the zombie dragon. They haven't gone over towards the direwolves, which I thought they might. Probably wasn't quite high enough.
Now, those particular units, they've been converted by Adam in order to be fitting of the living city. They're actually riding on what look like lions, which...
Yes. Yeah, they are nice. We'll put them up on the stream. And it looks like it's full on into the zombie dragon. I feel like this might be slightly overkill. I probably would have pushed that general on Griffin into the unit of 10 direwolves on the right hand side, because I think the zombie dragon's going to go down without the Griffin coming in to help.
And it's a really interesting decision, because I know that in a lot of these sorts of games, you're better off decisively killing one thing than nearly killing two things.
And the thing is, because all of the grave sites are sort of in Steve's side of the board, he can't suddenly jump. If Adam killed that unit of 10 direwolves with the Griffin, then he couldn't resummon that unit of 10 behind Adam's lines. You can only summon them near the grave sites.
Or can you summon direwolves at all?
No, they're not even summonable. Yes, you're right. Sorry. Yeah, you can't bring them back unless you're a different type. So I feel like this is slightly overkill on the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon. Maybe Adam just likes to make sure.
Well, I mean, I was speaking to Adam a little bit about how he felt about coming into this tournament, and he said that Death was one of the armies that he was a little concerned with, and specifically, he was worried about zombie dragons.
Yes, and there is a lot of them at the tournament this weekend. I think out of the 7 Death players, there are 5 zombie lords on Vampire Lords and Zombie Dragons with ethereal amulets, and then we have 1 player who's also brought Prince Vordry, who is the named character Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon.
Sometimes you need to send a message.
Yeah. Nicely done, Andy, for bringing the wrong choice, apparently. According to all of the other players at the tournament.
Well, scoreboard will be available at various points throughout the weekend.
Yes, we'll make sure that goes up. So that'll be going up on Twitter. I think we'll be using the @AngelWargamers Twitter account for the rounds and any pictures or things from the weekend. And the hashtag will be Angelcore or Angelcore 2018. I think we'll just be using Angelcore, actually.
Yeah, I don't think we mind if people see a few photos from last year. It's not going to hurt.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Let's just use the Angelcore hashtag. So I think Kieran's probably going to be going around taking some pictures and doing other things, and there'll be plenty of nice gaming this evening for people on Twitter to be getting their fill of content.
All right, so somewhere in the middle of a colossal amount of
this is a big fight. The problem is, by doing it, Adam's gone down on the objectives. He's only going to get 2 this turn. So this will be the Wildwood Rangers hitting. So he will get to re-roll those 1s. So that looks like a lot of 2s have been taken out. Oh no, those were the 1s to re-roll. Wow.
Well, if you're going to roll 1s, that's the time to do it.
Do it properly, yeah. That will have been all the 1s to take out. That was very impressive. Then it'll be 3s to wound from these Wildwood Rangers. It's being an important part of the game.
The ones here, slightly less impressive.
Yeah, there's still quite a few. So that looks like maybe 10, 12 saves. 13 saves for the Zombie Dragon to make. So it's going to fail 3 or 4 of those.
Let's have a look.
1, 2, 3, 4, lots.
That looks like 4 failed saves.
So that becomes 4d3 wounds.
Now, what happens to these other 2 units if he just rolls high here?
They're just wasted.
They're just stood around
they just don't do
watching
anything.
a dragon die.
Exactly, yeah. So so that looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7 wounds.
Through. So it already had, 4?
So that's 11 wounds dealt, 3 wounds left to deal.
Oh, Andy's, I just picked up from the table that Mystic Shield is actually off on that Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon as well. So he is a 3-up save, re-rolling 1s.
That will be the reason that we saw so many things piled into this Zombie Dragon.
That does make a difference. That's probably why the extra things went in. It's so difficult to kill something with a 3-up save, re-rolling 1s. But Wildwood Range is the way to do it. They're a pretty standout unit, actually, and Adam's been using them for a very long time. That was a horrendous save roll from Steve there. That was 3 dice to save, and he just rolled 1, 1, 2, or
Well,
so much stuff going down right now.
Adam
this the zombie lord
is... It looks like he wasn't really expecting, even though he piled so much of his army into this combat, I don't know if he was actually expecting it all to play out this way.
With the Griffin in as well, I don't even think the Griffin's attacked yet. So if the Griffin hasn't attacked, actually having answered the question incorrectly earlier, the Griffin, because it charged this turn, actually could pile in to the Grimghast Reapers if it wanted to. I don't think it's a great decision, but that option is there because you are allowed to make a pile-in move if you are within 3 of an enemy model, which the Griffin wouldn't if the Vampire Lord was dead, or if you made a charge move in that turn.
Interesting.
So the Grimghast Reapers not allowed to pile into the Griffin, but the Griffin is allowed to pile into them. So they wouldn't even get to attack back.
I like that kind of a fight.
Yeah.
That's the kind of fight I feel like I might potentially be able to win.
Right, that zombie dragon still looks like it's on the table, though. So is this the Griffin going for attacks? Must be. 2 wounds through from the Griffin. Oh man, these saves are appalling from Steve.
2d6.
Changing my dice.
2d6.
That is 2d6 wounds from the
Peck him
beak.
to death.
Yeah, the Griffin.
Got to do 4 on 2d6. It's going to be a double 1 now.
Yeah, Griffin doing his damage.
7.
7 damage
I'll roll 4.
from the beak.
Down to 1.
And there is the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Gone. That is why the Wildwood Rangers are in the list. If only
Honestly,
we had a
I'm not
webcam
sure
to
which
show you Adam's
which of
face.
these two is more stunned
I think
by the outcome of that fight.
I think to be fair, the saves from Steve have been abysmal. There has been so many 2s on those saves that Adam hasn't even needed to attack with the Demigriffs or most of the Griffin's attacks in order to take that zombie dragon down. And yeah, those extra 3 or 4 wounds that the Glade Guard did made a big difference.
All right. Big turn there. So
we're going into...
how many points was that for Adam on
Adam
his
will
turn?
be on 2 points, 1 for the north objective and 1 for the west objective.
Big roll.
So
And Adam gets the double turn.
Adam has got the turn.
This is big.
Yes, this is huge.
This is going to be
Yeah.
where Adam really needs to capitalize on this double turn in a big way here.
Yeah, this could be really, really dangerous for Steve. I mean, I know that zombie dragon really went out there and said, deal with this. But Adam just did.
Yeah.
The army those Wildwood Rangers, they are huge. And people underestimate them because you don't see them in match play ever. But
Now, why is that? Is it just because they don't fit in an army typically?
Yeah, people aren't taking Wanderers too much. They don't really fit into the Wanderers' special abilities. Are mostly focused around shooting rather than the combat side. So they're mostly sitting back and using them the way that Adam is using them as a counter charge against the big monsters that come at you is incredibly strong. And it looks like nobody's really using them in the scene. Most people prefer to use either allegiances like Stormcast or main books, or if there is mixed order, then it's just all about taking the stuff that is very points efficient.
Now Nagash there, failing on a Dispel on a Mystic Shield on that Griffin.
Impressive. So that Griffin is similar kind of save to the Zombie Dragon. Unfortunately, he doesn't ignore Rend because he's gone for the hits of Gear Strike, which meant that he was hitting on 2s and wounding on 2s in
But,
combat.
I mean, ultimately, he always knew that he was going to be the realm that he is because of
Yes,
being...
and also, yes, the Ethereal Amulet not available to Adam because he is Living City, and the Living City, as makes sense, is in Giran. I haven't actually seen if Adam is using the Realm Spell or the command ability to cast some Shield of Thorns. It might be interesting to see, but D3 Mortal Wounds not making a huge difference here. Oh, and that that +1 wound on a hero, because we are playing in Giran, was probably also on the zombie dragon.
Wow.
So probably, I mean, it could be on Nagash, but I think the correct choice for Steve would have been to put it on the zombie dragon. So that means it went down from 15 wounds instead of 14.
Now, if you're Adam here, I mean, I look at this board as someone who's comparatively green when it comes to Age of Sigmar, and I'm like, I've dealt with one of the really big threats. Can I realistically just go for Nagash and then from there on it's clean up?
Yeah. So that might be slightly greedy. What Adam really wants to do here, and I'm making sure he can't hear me, is actually I would personally just go and kill the Necromancer and the 2 units of Direwolves, effectively just leaving him with Nagash and 1 unit of Grimghasts.
And nothing that he can use on gravesites.
Exactly, because then you've left the stuff that is summonable off the table, and then there's only 1 hero that can actually be used. It is Nagash. But this is a game of movement. This is a game with 5 objectives on the table. If Steve only has 2 units and he can't summon anything else, then what's he going to be able to do in order to stop Adam from having 3 of the objectives compared to Steve's 2?
Interesting.
That's where I would push. But maybe Adam's going to push for Nagash, I don't know. It looks like these Wildwood Rangers now feeling like they can take on the Grimghast Reapers.
And they can take on the world at this point. They've done it all.
Yeah, we killed a Vampire Lord, bro. Let's just see what we can do.
Dear Diary.
Today I killed a Vampire Lord. That is at least getting Adam 1 secondary objective point.
Yep.
For killing that Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, although he's not the general. Nagash, being the Supreme Lord of Undead, I don't think would allow a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon to be the general of this army.
Correct.
Yeah. He doesn't seem like the type to share power.
No, not especially. Though, one thing worth noting, again, there are no Wildwoods on the table.
Still, it looks like he failed the 4-up again to get that Wildwood. I'm not sure where he would put it right now.
Yeah,
so it is the same size as the woods that you can see on the table, and it would be difficult for him to put it because he has to start it wholly within, I think, 24 of the Tree Lord Ancient, and it has to be an inch away from all other models when it starts.
Yeah,
and all other terrain features.
So realistically, he might just be making the board look pretty rather than achieving any notable objectives with it at this point.
Yeah. So it looks like those Glade Guard are now moving up in order to go for those Direwolves would probably be my call, although some of them might split their shots and take some cheeky shots on the Grimghast Reapers. The -3 rend not making a huge difference anymore. They're still waiting to use that on Nagash, really. That's the model in Steve's army that really cares about that rend 3. Because the Grimghast obviously ignore the rend. Direwolves only have a 5-up or 6-up save anyway, so it's a bit of a waste. And so the most efficient use of it is Nagash himself.
Oh, Nagash is going to be all sad if he has to resummon his entire army before he gets to play round 2.
I know. Poor Nagash. Now, it's worth mentioning that Steve does have that unit of Grimghast Reapers, the battle line unit that's sitting in the bottom right. They are ethereal, so they're more difficult to see for viewers. So that strung out line of 10 behind the Oculum terrain piece in the bottom right corner is still alive and is ready to possibly countercharge anything which takes the western objective. But it's only a unit of 10 battle line stuff. I wouldn't be too fussed with it.
We've already seen some good work from Battle Line already, though.
Yeah, that's what they're really good at. And they're fast. They ignore rend again, but they only have a 5-up save. And they hit relatively hard as long as they've got a hero somewhere near them. So they're a strong battle line unit.
And those guys, of course, in the new AOS 2 box.
Yes.
So
most of the new Nighthaunt stuff. I don't know if you get any Grimghast Reapers in the new.
I think you get a few.
Do you get 3 or?
I think you get 4.
You might get 4. Yeah. The new Nighthaunt set is absolutely lovely. I've only built the Stormcast half of the new set, but
we've had a lot of fun in the shop building them up. They just look incredible.
Yeah. That core set for the money is very, very good.
And of course, if you did pick it up from here, not that I'm
Plug
massively
away.
shilling for my own shop, but I will, just this once. We do 20% off on all of the Games Workshop bits and pieces that we sell. So feel free to come on in, let us know what it is you're looking for. If we don't have it in store on the day, we can get it for you pretty quick.
Yeah, Magic Madhouse is very, very good for getting AOS stuff in. It's really top notch, I would say.
We try. We try.
And we're obviously providing this nice stream for you all weekend. Out of the goodness of our hearts, I guess.
Yeah, why not?
So, looks like Adam is going full board for the middle objective. He wants to try and take that one back. So he's not going for the south one whatsoever. I'm not sure how he's gonna. In order to take that eastern objective, he's going to have to do a lot of damage to the Grimgrass Reapers. Now remember, they are only 1 wound each, but the Wildwood Rangers no longer doing D3 damage. That's only against monsters.
Yes.
So they'll be coming in 20 attacks, 3s rerolling 1s, then 3s. Rend 1 is ignored, so half of those then go through the 4-up save. I don't think it's going to kill all 20, so that's probably where the Demigryphs are going to help.
The Demigryphs, a small unit, but one with a fair amount of punch.
Yeah. And then maybe the Free Guild General on Griffin is going to go for the Direwolves on the right-hand flank and attempt to take out that entire unit by himself. There is 20 wounds there to kill, so I don't think he's going to do it all in one. But with the shots from the Glade Guard, most likely should be able to do it. So I think that's how he's going to be able to take that eastern objective and possibly the middle in the same turn.
I mean, if you can do that...
It's a big turn. It's a real push here from Adam.
Yeah, because it's interesting that on the board it felt like turn 1 for Adam, he achieved more in terms of he took off a key figure.
Yes.
But at the same time, he's down 4 points to 2 after one set of battle rounds.
Yep. Yeah, but he needed that zombie dragon. If he didn't deal with it when he did, it was just going to go around cleaning up the units. Adam, of course, can't resummon any of his stuff. So once a unit of, that zombie dragon kills the 30 Glade Guard in one go, he kills the unit of 20 Wildwood Rangers in one go. If he gets to choose the combats with him, which he can because he's so fast, then Adam just needed to deal with him, or else that zombie dragon would just wreak havoc on the table. So this looks like the Glade Guard shots. I'm not sure what unit they're shooting into. They're probably splitting shots between the Direwolves and the Grimghasts, but they might all be on the Direwolves, I'm not sure. We'll have to see when Steve takes some saves.
So one of the cool things with this list that maybe Adam didn't get a chance to do so much with his dragons was rolling a really absurd amount of dice, because between his archers and his Glade Guard, he's just got so much opportunity to pile in.
Roll a big bunch of dice.
Big volume of attacks.
Yeah,
which
the problem with dragons is they only roll 3 attacks or so, and yes, they might be 2s to hit with a reroll, but they still miss.
Again, a lot of 2s from Steve Curtis.
Steve's 2s.
I think that there's a very real chance that I'm going to be able to go up to Steve and sell him a brick of new dice at the end of this round, because he's had a rough run of it when it comes to the saves that he's experienced thus far.
Just say they on average roll 3s, and it would probably.
I mean, he would take the 0.5 hit to his roll and be like, "Yeah, that's good enough."
That's a big improvement on my current. Yeah, but this is a dice game. Things happen, they make a difference. So that was shots onto the Grimghast Reapers, and Steve appears to be trying to remove a couple so that the Demigryphs no longer have a 3-inch charge. I'm surprised that the shots all went into if they all went into the Grimghasts. I am surprised, because I think taking off that unit of 10 Direwolves is a lot bigger than Adam is giving it credit for.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that this is one of the things that it's very easy to come up in a lot of games of Age of Sigmar. And obviously, we don't know all the thought processes of all these players. It may be that there's a grand high strategy that we're not seeing here.
Yeah.
But
And we have a different view.
We do.
It's always a slightly different view from the top-down tactical view.
I actually kind of love the top-down view.
It's really good.
I feel I knew that I was going to come along this weekend with the intention of watching lots of Age of Sigmar. I didn't know that I was necessarily going to commentate the whole weekend. I'll jump in and out here and there.
Yep.
But I think we've kind of got the best view in the house right now.
It's really great, isn't it? And tomorrow is going to be especially good when we have the real field of what is essentially some of the top wargamers in London and the UK. They're going to filter themselves up so that Table 1 is the best of the best with the lists for this event.
Yeah, today we're going to be a little bit picky with our matches. We're not automatically going to show you Table 1. We're going to pick out some matches that we think are going to be good matches to watch. But Day 2 will be all about the people that are in the running to potentially walk away with the trophy here at Angelcore.
Yeah, absolutely. We might do the same from round 3. It's just maybe the first 2 rounds. We'll
see how it's going.
We'll pick some nice looking games because round 1 doesn't make a difference. For those of you that haven't done an AOS tournament or any other wargaming tournaments, and this is you're just tuning in to see what match play full-on tournaments are like. We do use a Swiss pairing system, which essentially means that you will be paired against people who are doing about as well as you are doing. As best we can. So if going into round 5 you have won all of the previous 4 games, you will most likely be paired against somebody who has also won the remaining 4 games, or 3 and loads of secondaries, etc. So it works out that you play better people as you are doing better through the event.
And ideally that actually works for literally everyone in the tournament. It means that if you are a player that is maybe having a bit of a bad day, that you're not going to have to play against the person who has the strongest record in the field when it gets to round 5. You get to have, ideally, competitive games throughout the entire tournament.
Yeah. Round 1 is random, so you could well play anybody. But after that, we find that the Swiss pairing system is completely standard. It just gives everybody a much better weekend, really.
And ultimately,
that's what we're all about at Angelcore, making sure that everybody here, from the best gamers in the UK to some people that just happen to live close and love AOS.
I was speaking to one of the players before we started, and he picked up AOS not more than 4 or 5 months ago, and he's playing this weekend. There are some players with a pretty long pedigree with various versions of AOS and indeed Warhammer Fantasy Battle, but a good mix.
There's a number of people here that have been playing on the England team for 10 years, all the way through 7th edition and 8th edition. So it's a really strong field, and AOS in London is doing really, really well at the moment. It's really nice to see us being able to run our own event.
I'm excited to get my cinch all finished being painted up so I can get involved.
Yeah, that'd be really good. So
lots of combat that we're going to see here, because it looks like those direwolves are going to be taking a little bit of a...
They're going to be taking a little bit of a hit, but it's not many Glade Guard that have gone in. The Free Girl General has gone in, but I don't think he does enough to kill all 10. And it's all about where Adam picks the combats to go first.
But yeah, because it's not as if having charged, he gets to do all of his charges and then there's going to be attacks back.
No, Adam will pick a unit, and then Steve will pick a unit, and then Adam picks a unit. Adam gets to pick first because it is his current turn.
Sorry, this is his battle round 2, isn't it?
His battle round 2.
Let me just make that.
I just spotted that on the screen as well.
Sorry, we're doing a terrible job for you.
There you go. So I think he will probably attack with the Wildwood Rangers first. They're the most squishy unit. They don't really have a save or anything, so they will just die to the Grimghast Reapers as soon as they attack back. So he needs to make sure that they get their attacks in before they die. So I think based on that number of dice, it's probably true that those are the Wildwood Ranger attacks.
I think it's something like 41 attacks or something that unit gets. It's an absurd number of dice.
It's 2 each plus 1 for the champion.
There we go.
41 attacks if they're all in, which they certainly are. It is a hard... Adam is really pushing hard here. But to take full advantage of that good luck against the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon in the first turn.
Yeah, Zombie Dragon kill plus the double turn. I think that Adam, going into this match, felt like he needed to get a little bit lucky, and he's had a little bit of the run of the dice in this early stage.
Yep. I've not actually seen a unit of Grimghast Reapers hit back yet, so I mean they might be very, very impressive, but I think actually on paper they're relatively similar to a Wildwood Ranger. And we've seen a lot more units of Grimghast Reapers at this tournament than Wild Rangers, certainly, and in the scene as a whole. Grimghast Reapers, they are essentially the same as Wildwood Rangers, except they only hit on 4s instead of hitting on 3s, so they're not even actually as good
At hitting. They can fly. They are immune to rends. They can get summoned back when they die.
Much, much more defensive than the Wildwood Rangers. The Wildwood Rangers, essentially, as long as they get to attack, they do a lot of damage, but they just have a 5-up save and are an elf.
All right.
So how many do we think are dying? One looks like 7 or 8 from that unit of 20 after he took off some models before. There's not going to be many left.
Now, in terms of what he takes off, if he took off all the ones that are in front of the unit that's not attacked yet, does that essentially mean that those guys are stranded?
No. So again, because the Demigryphs have charged this turn, they will still get a pile-in. So they will get to move round that corner and attempt to... So that look, I think a Demigryph on the Lance has a 2-inch reach. So as long as it can... Yeah, now it certainly can't attack. But they will still get to move 3 towards the closest enemy model if they want to.
Now, I guess that the
closest enemy model is either that Grimghast Reaper. It's definitely not.
Now, if they do that, is there a danger that that gravesite immediately to the right of them is going to be active?
If they, he could. So he's not going to be able to pile them on top of that gravesite because that's not the direction of the closest enemy model.
Okay.
But he can't nullify that gravesite in terms of summoning. But it looks like there's nowhere where Steve's going to be able to put models from that gravesite anyway. So there's only 4 Grimghast Reapers left. That is looking
grim.
Yeah, pretty grim. So this was the Free Guild General attacking. The Direwolves attacking the Free Guild General back. They won't be doing much. So not too worried about that. Adam definitely making the correct choice with who to attack with first. But don't underestimate how much damage Nagash can actually do in the remaining turns of this game, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 800 points sat there
800 points
at
in
full
a single
health.
model, still full health. He crashes into those 2 units in the middle and can do some serious damage.
Now, Nagash, does he have any bonuses when it comes to summoning at gravesites?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It seems like the sort of thing that I can imagine being in his wheelhouse, but equally, Nagash, he's got a lot of things going on.
Seems like he should. I'll just bring up Nagash's rules on my... So... he is allowed to pick 5 friendly summonable units on the battlefield and heal D3 wounds that have been allocated to each one you picked. So that in this game will just be the Grimghast Reapers in front. And he can re-roll the D3 on that as well. So those Grimghasts are going to get 1 from the gravesite that they're next to. I don't think they're in range of the other gravesite. So they're going to get D3 from Nagash, and then probably D3 from Nagash's from the gravesite as well. So they're going to be having 2 D3 back from death summoning in Steve's turn. So that could put them back up to 10 models.
What a pain in the neck. What a pain in the neck for
Yep.
these lovely living boys.
Yeah, well, we have to see how much damage those Grimghasts actually do to the Wildwood Rangers. I don't think it's going to be too much. So this is just Direwolves attacking the Glade Guard at the top. He's just... the Glade Guard attacking the Direwolves, my bad. Just taking off a couple and keeping them out of the range. It doesn't really look like any serious damage has been done over there.
I mean, the Griffin needs to have a very good attack here in order to actually get that.
In order to kill that many, yeah. There are some more Direwolves that you can't see that are sort of hidden behind the big terrain piece on the eastern side of the board. So there are still, I think, 6 Direwolves left to kill, possibly more.
And how...
Yeah, so there you can see them being taken away. So that's 1, 2, 3. 4 more.
I think
so
there's 2
there
left
might be
up
2
there.
or 3 left, yeah. Griffin gonna have to get pretty lucky to kill them here. But this will put Adam so far ahead on points. He's been getting 1, 2, 3 for the pair, 1 for the top one, and 2 for the middle.
So
6 points out of a possible 8.
that's where you want to be. Looks like there's still 1 left. Now, in terms of controlling an objective, is it number of models? Is it number of wounds near it?
It's number of models, which makes the difference here. This is what I thought was going to happen. So Adam there's 1 direwolf left who is controlling that objective, and the Freebuild General is also 1 model, so he does not gain control of that objective on the eastern side. He cannot pile the demigryphs in order to...
Because it's the wrong direction, you have to go to the closest enemy
Go
model.
towards the closest enemy model, so that just gives Adam 1 for the western objective, 1 for the top, and 2 for the middle for 4 points in this turn.
So 6 in total.
Yeah.
There we
So
go.
I'm up to 6-4, going into Steve's battle round 2.
Now, for Steve, the big thing that he has going on is Nagash is still fully active.
Yes. Didn't look like the Grimghast did too much damage to the Wildwood Rangers last turn, but if we now start adding, D3 and then D3 again models back to that unit, which I think he's doing now, that's going to start making a big difference. He's not putting them into combat though. He seems to be shielding Nagash. So that's 2 models back. Neither player casting their endless spell yet.
Interesting, yeah. I mean, I guess that the chronomatic cogs for Adam, given that he can drop units in, being able to drop units in and have them be able to charge more reliably
he just
is
didn't
interesting.
need it at all yet. So far, pretty much every one of his charges has been a 3-inch charge. Yeah, so while it guarantees that you don't get that double 1, he's got some command points to throw at that reroll to make sure, and 2 double 1s in a row is horrendous.
Incredibly unlikely, that one. So, yeah, we see these Reapers coming back now.
Yeah. So that looks like he's added 4 models back, and then this is the Necromancer adding another 1. So you can see what he did there is string out the Grimghast Reapers so that they are close enough to the Necromancer for the Necromancer to also be able to summon them.
I see.
So
and
here
now that
comes some even more some more Grimghasts back. So that's just 1 more.
And that was even with a reroll, still 1. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that if Steve's looking for some dice, that we can help him out.
Yep. Yeah, it's impressive. Do we want to swap to the table quickly and see what spells are going off from Nagash?
Let's do it.
Nagash is now +4 for the +3.
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Remind me what that does.
So
You can't do hand of dust to it.
can.
Can.
So I get to place 1 within 12 of Nagash,
Yeah.
then the other one wholly within the other portal, and I get to cast a spell through it as long as it's within 1 inch of Nagash.
So this is the spell portal, the endless spells we were talking about.
So I'm scared of hand of dust. Overwhelming dread isn't great to use. What's the range on hand of dust? Oh, so you have to be in combat basically. So you're not getting the griffin with it. So
Current range on it from a portal is 24 inches from his face.
what are the damage out? So
So he's got Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield,
yeah, don't care about them.
Soul Stealer, Bravery damage that can heal,
Yeah, and
File
the-
Transference,
yeah,
damage and heal,
D3.
the Orb, sort of 4 up, D6 wound,
Yeah, I can tank that.
Overwhelming Dread, Dark Hells.
Van Hell's hurts. I can try and stop Van Hell's. The spell portal allowing you to do that when you want is the most important thing, so I'm going to spell scroll it.
The spell scroll it.
Yeah.
Big spell scroll there.
So he's just spell scrolled from the Spellweaver, the spell portal. This is a big, big difference that the
Cast for 9, 10
Spellweaver brings to the table for Adam.
Griffin. Takes 2.
Yeah, comparatively speaking, all of these other spells not as scary.
Oh, it's huge, yeah.
3. Overwhelming Dread.
So she only has one spell down.
6. Just cast, but I got
I'll try and stop that with.
how many dispels have you got left? 2.
Yeah, I'll stop that with the Branch Wraith. It's not flat. Are you happy with me re-rolling that?
Yeah, pretty well.
That's flat. That's 3. That's not a stop.
So -1 to hit, -1 bravery.
Yeah.
To these boys.
Yeah. So the bravery stat that this spell works.
Characteristic. Van Hels.
Yeah.
These casting rolls, just appalling. 2 3s in a row. Still off. 2 3s in a row, just appalling. But that is the double pile-in spell,
Yes. So that fucking goes off.
which still goes off. So he's
Casting 8
still.
spells on a 3 on dice is totally fine.
So that's double pile-in on the Grimdark Reapers.
Vial transfers. Hit a unit in 12. D3 more so you have to heal them. Casting 7. Goes off twice on 13.
And that's what Nagash can do.
2 D3 mortal wound.
That is the going off twice is from rolling a 9 or more on the dice when casting a spell. You get to cast that same spell twice, and the targets can be different.
And that's a Nagash thing, not just
No,
a
that's
casting
a
thing.
straight death thing.
Oh, wow.
All death casters. It's just because Nagash casts so many spells per turn. He just has so many opportunities to roll a 9 or higher. So he's casting 6 spells. On average, 1 or 2 of them is going to go off twice.
Yikes.
Yep.
This
And
is
the
why
other
he's
thing-
800 points, kids.
Yeah. The other thing that you can do with him is
6.
because Steve there rolled a 10 on the dice. Nagash gets +3, so it hits a 13, so you can't even dispel it.
7, 8, 9, 10.
I can't stop you anymore, so.
Basis where we're on 1.
Nagash really showing his power in this hero phase.
Yeah. How close do I need to be to
It's all enemy units in 3. Half the move. You're on next move phase.
Cool.
So I've got 2 left. Soul Steel, Soul Bravery characteristic.
7.
7 minus 1, 6. Yeah. So I'm going to do. What braveries or spell readers? Or your nomad braveries?
Why would you ask me these questions? Why would this come up?
Yeah.
Leave them alone. I believe it's also 7. It could be 8.
Okay, well, I'm going to try and cast them, that's why you're doing that. 6, 7, 8, 9. Cast.
The Nomad Prince is 8 and Spellweaver is 7.
So 8. So it's range 24. So I'll go with the Spellweaver. 2d6 with beat bravery, but double it to be 6 more wounds if not D3. So help.
Yep.
So I have 1 spell left.
Yeah.
Now switch over to overwhelming dread. Oh, the orb.
Yes.
Yep. D6 mortal wound orb.
So 9, 10, 11, 12.
Does that mean you can draw 2 lines?
Yeah, or do the same line twice. Yeah. So I'm going to go.
So he's got this one off twice as well.
So
Oof.
2 4-ups on here.
Yeah.
1d6 more wounds. 2 4-ups here. 1d6 more wounds. So on the grips, I take 2. On the rangers, take 4.
I'll take 2 6-ups on them.
Yeah.
Nope.
4 on the.
5 wounds each. And then 4 more of these guys.
So I think that's Nagash's hero phase. I say Nagash. Steve's hero phase.
We all know who's in command of that army.
Yeah. So we can probably switch back to us for Steve's.
Ugh. Well, Nagash, he's a powerful monster.
He is. That was a pretty strong hero phase. I mean, the Dispel Scroll made a massive difference in that. I think it would have been a whole different hero phase if Spell Portal had gone off.
Well, with Spell Portal gone off, it would mean that potentially that Griffin could have just
There's a-
simply died.
Yeah, there's a 50-50 to just say that Griffin is now dead.
I mean, we know how Steve's been doing on his better than 50-50s thus far, but
Yeah.
if you're looking at ways that Steve could get
This isn't
ahead,
roll a dice. You have to put a dice in one of your hands and put them under the table and then show it to your opponent. If they pick the one with the dice, their model is still alive. If they pick the one without a dice, their model is dead.
Oh my.
Yeah,
I mean, I like it. It's very.
it's very good.
I feel like that spell should be called Painful Choice.
It's nice that you force your opponent to do it as well.
Yeah.
Kill your own model by picking incorrectly.
Okay, so we've got some direwolves kind of circling around this griffin. Why would they choose to go to that sort of direction?
So it looks like the direwolves and the grimghasts are going to make a line of places where the griffin can't land in order to protect Nagash. Steve seems pretty worried about Nagash as one key piece now. So you can see now, if the griffin wanted to charge Nagash, he essentially can't land anywhere because he needs to be 3 away. So unless he rolls a huge charge in order to jump over the top of the Grimghasts, he's just not going to be able to get into Nagash this turn. So Steve's really on the defensive right now, I would say, looking to guard the points that he does have. Now, I thought he seems to have guarded where Nagash is currently standing.
Nagash can still move, right?
Yeah, Nagash hasn't moved yet, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't, go where Steve's finger is, and then attempt to charge into the Wildwood Rangers. The other option being, no, there's nowhere. He wants Nagash into that middle combat, but there's not really room for Nagash's base to sit anywhere in that central combat.
Considering that Nagash at one point was a mortal human, it seems incredible to me that he's as big as he is now, but
Yep.
in terms of impact on the board, it definitely makes sense.
He is a god.
At this point.
Yep. So he's gonna have to throw him, all the way out to that left, maybe to keep him a little bit more shielded from the Glade Guard, who still have their Ren 3 shots to attempt to take some serious wounds off of him. So I think he's just trying to guard him a little bit. He's not really going to be able to charge him this turn. But remember that Steve could get the next priority and take 2 turns effectively in a row.
Now, we're living in magical Christmas land here, but in principle, could Adam end up flying his griffin over and aiming for that south objective?
He could indeed, yes. So it might have 2 dire wolves next to it. I'm not sure. It's a 6-inch range on the objectives. So I am not sure whether those dire wolves will be in or not. I would guess not, which means that it's essentially free for the griffin to jump all the way over the top of those 2 units. If he's got the move, I presume he does, because griffin moves 15 inches, and charge into the either remaining Grimghasts or the direwolves themselves, and take that south objective from Steve if Adam was to get the next turn.
Yeah, the double turn potential on the other side of things still live.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It makes a massive difference, that double turn.
Now, not too much in the shooting phase from this Death Army.
No, once the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is dead, there is nothing. No shooting whatsoever, and that's only got 1 shot. It's got 1 terrifying breath attack.
So we're going to get a chance to go pretty much direct combat after...
I think we are already direct to combat. I think that is the Grimghast Reapers attacking the Wildwood Rangers already. That is 4 of them dropped off. You can see how quickly these elves start dying. Since they are just squishy elves, Adam choosing to take models off in the middle, remembering that Steve has a double pile-in with those Grimghasts this turn.
So they can just get to where they need to go without too much worry.
So even though they've already attacked, they're going to get to a pile-in and attack again.
Oh,
so
wow.
All of those Wildwood Rangers should be dead at the end of Steve's turn.
Yeah, tough old situation here.
So Adam Starr has a lot left on the right-hand side of the board, but he needs to clear those Grimghasts out, or else they're just going to... So Steve now gets another turn. Those Grimghasts might be back to full strength nearly.
And they get to sit on the middle objective, which we know is scoring 2 a turn.
Yep. As we said, it looks like Steve might be taking back that middle objective now. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Grimghast Reapers, which there's going to be no Wildwood Rangers there, and the Demigryphs are going to come in, and they're not going to be enough models to take that objective back. So it looks like at the end of this turn, Steve's going to have the middle objective again.
It's been a big old bun fight in the middle here. Ooh. Display going a little bit strange. Let me just switch across to our top-down view just while I fix up what's going on there.
So yeah, Steve playing it completely correctly here. He's gone for that anvil that is the Grimghast Reapers in order to keep that middle objective, even though Adam threw so much stuff into the center directly at him. He's making sure, I think all of those, there's only 5 or so Wildwood Rangers left, so they should all drop. Yeah, they should all go as soon as this attack happens. That gives him the middle back, and then if he now gets the priority, as we said, there's going to be 15 to 20 of those Grimghasts sitting back in the middle again, and Adam will have lost the unit of Wildwood Rangers for essentially nothing. Well, I suppose he took the.
He got a couple of points.
He got the 2 points for it, yeah. And those points are all that matters, really. It's 30 points for the major objective in this tournament, so that is just having more points at the end of battle round 5 than your opponent. And you can see it's currently 6-4 to Adam, but Steve is still to score in this turn, and will have at least 1, 2, 3. I think he will have 4 more at the end of this turn, based on what is currently happening. So there's all of the Wildwood Rangers gone.
Back and forth play in the middle here.
Yeah, well, back and forth, but the death keep coming back.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one.
It is. Yeah, that middle objective going back to Steve.
So is that 3 points for Steve here?
That is.
Or does he have the objective on the right as well?
He still has the one on the right, because he never actually lost control of it. But so he's thanks to that one dire wolf.
One's all it takes. So this is going up to 8 now.
Yeah, that's why Adam should have shot the Glade Guard at the dire wolves to make sure that they died. Then he would have scored those bonus 2 points, and it would have been 8. So that is, yep, they're now going into priority for 3. That, as we expected, puts it 8-6 to Steve.
Okay.
So
if anything, these are always the biggest rolls of the game. A 1 from Adam.
So that was for the Wildwood.
Oh, I see.
It
Okay.
is Adam's battle round 3.
Okay. Let me just update that on here.
So he still hasn't got that Wildwood 3 turns in a row, but Steve now doesn't have the opportunity to get that full strength unit of Grimghasts back. Adam knows he can't get to Nagash this turn, I don't think, unless he does something very special that I haven't spotted. I just don't think he's going to be able to get there, but with the sheer might of the Demigryphs and the number of shots that big unit of Glade Guard has, I really don't think he's going to struggle to take off the full unit of Grimghasts. Then what he needs to do is sit on the grave sites and stop them from coming up anywhere important.
Now potentially he can, because there's a grave site near Nagash. Can he pile into near Nagash to be on that grave site and still hold the objective?
He could, yes, but Nagash will get to hit you back.
Oh yeah, he does do that, doesn't he?
Nagash will get a combat and he will smack you. It's not going to be too good. So I think Adam has a really good chance here to take basically every objective on the table but the south one. Again, giving him 6 points.
And he does need to have some big turns in terms of points, because right now
he's still 2 points down. It looks good on the table for Adam, but Death are very, very strong in the later turns. So he really needs to see to take what points he can. If he can get 6 out of this and go 12-8 up, it's gonna be very hard for Steve to come back. If he only gets 4, then I think this is probably Steve's game. But I think Adam should really be getting 6 out of this turn. if he's going to be going for the win, he's going to be looking at that 6 points.
Now, a bit of a question for you, Matt. In terms of kind of the architecture of a game of Age of Sigmar, obviously very big things happen in the early turns of the game. We've seen a zombie dragon already taken off the table. There's been a fair amount of models being moved off the table in the early turns.
Yep.
In terms of, if you had to break out the number of minutes on the game, would you anticipate the later battle rounds being a bit quicker than the early ones?
They should be much quicker, yeah. In general, I think like 40% or 40% is spent in deployment and round one, and that's where you make mistakes that lose you games. Very few big mistakes happen in turn 3, 4, 5 because things have already happened in deployment and turn 1 and sometimes in turn 2 that make the big differences to the whole game. So this is Adam seeing if he can get the Azeros within 10 in order to be able to re-roll ones. I think he's probably not quite there.
Doesn't look like it.
But if the Azeros stays, no, it looks like he's in. So that's somehow he's seeing if he can light up Nagash to get the reroll ones, but I don't see what is going to be able to attack Nagash this turn.
I mean, his range on his archers surely is not going to be able to enough to get to Nagash this turn.
No,
at least.
the archers are only range 20, so they will be shooting the Grimghast Reapers surely. Oh, well, is that the 20-inch range? Maybe they're going for Nagash. I think that might be a mistake from Adam. I would just take the objective points and run, but he's played well so far. So,
I mean, this is round 3, so there's a couple more battle rounds after this one. I guess that there's a lot of, sort of presumptive figuring out how many points you think your opponent can score in each successive turn here.
Yeah, there's a lot, especially in these turns where Steve doesn't have that many units left on the board. There's only a maximum number that he can actually of objectives that he can actually cover at this point. Because yes, those dire wolves can probably go for the western objective. That's pretty sparsely covered at this point. 5 dire wolves probably beat 10 free guild in a fight, and that is some free points to Steve. But then he's splitting his army in order to try and get the bonus points, and those bonus points are really what's going to make the big difference. So I think Adam is in a better place to be getting those extra points for the opposite objectives.
When you were figuring out which scenarios to run, you definitely didn't give people an easy start to their day. It seems like there's a lot to consider with this particular mission.
Yeah, the reason that I like this one is that it's not biased towards any real type of list, apart from ones that are just generally great in the movement phase. It also rarely finishes on draws, just because of the way that you end up with quite a lot of points. Rarely do the two players finish on the same score, although we could still see it here. This is a relatively close game. And it was mostly the fact that it just gives a relatively even playing field. There's no tricks, there's no real anything about what scores, what doesn't score. Some of the things you can only score with wizards or heroes with artifacts, or you get bonus points for certain things. I think it's much better. Sorry, I'm just sorting out lists. It's better to just put down a relatively simply scoring scenario that allows for the rest of the tournament those pairings to be sorted out correctly. We will have some more wacky ones later in the day.
I'm looking forward to some of them.
Yeah.
And I do like the fact that in AOS there's a lot of scenarios that they really do completely change the way that the game plays. And ultimately, as tempting as it might be, I mean, I've already sort of shown my leanings, as tempting as it might be to pick the biggest figure on the board, kill it, then go for the next biggest figure on the board, kill it. If you're constantly chasing that dream,
then you're not going to get any of the actual objectives on the table. So
yeah.
Yep. Some of the best armies do very little killing, but are good at swamping the objectives. A couple of really, really strong grot players that kill very little and just have 60 guys sitting on objectives.
some
this the
somewhat
shots on
impressive
Nagash? I think this is
rolling.
the shots. Maybe are these shooting Nagash?
That was all but one die
Yeah.
was a hit.
Yeah, which is 3s rerolling 1s, assuming that Azeros is lighting up Nagash. We'll have to see where Steve starts taking the saves, whether this is gonna... I mean, if Nagash dies here, it's just appalling.
16. Let's
Yeah.
listen in on our table a little bit here.
No, that looks like 4s, so I think that's on the Grimghasts.
5. Yeah, and you've got one guy in next to
Yeah, so I'll take
one at a time.
So yeah, those shots were just straight on the Grimghasts, which, as I expected. Ooh.
Two 5 staff, same place. Yep. 2. Re-rolling the 1 because he's within 10 of them. Winning on a 3. Yes. Good. No more D6 damage for you because that would just wipe them. Great.
Ever the optimist, Adam. D6, that just means 5 wounds every time. So the Griffin has gone up the top and he's now going straight into that gap.
Larry. Charge the Azeros.
That's a big old charge.
Yes, it is.
I just want to put majority in the middle still.
So the Demigrits, if they fail the charge, that's pretty important, but they should have a reroll. Ooh, that is a 12-inch charge.
15 wins, 16 wins, 3 up.
Adam is thinking about going into Nagash. Yeah,
So in
that's the correct choice.
in Age of Sigmar,
yes,
you declare your charging and you roll your charge, but you don't have to declare who you're
you
charging.
don't have to declare the target, no.
That's interesting. That's a key difference between Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000
40K,
for you
yes.
guys that
Yeah.
maybe play a little bit more in the Grimdark.
Absolutely. You do need a chargeable unit in order to declare the charge in the first place. But you don't need to declare which direction you're going. If you've got a unit on your left that's 3 inches away and a unit on your right that's 12 inches away and you roll a 12, you can choose to go for the 12. Otherwise, you can go for the one that's really close.
I like this because it means that you don't have to do nonsensical multi-charges,
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
if you do happen to roll a surprising number, you get to capitalize on it.
Exactly, yeah. And there's no real reason to not have it like that. So that looks like that is Adam taking control of the central objective back, because he's got those 4 models to Steve's 2. I'm not... Is he going to get the one on the right-hand flank?
I don't think he can he?
The Free Guild General might be in right. I just don't see
Well,
why
there's
he
all of those
wouldn't.
direwolves though.
There's only 3 direwolves, but I just don't see why he wouldn't get that. It's essentially 3 points.
It's a lot of free
Right.
points because he's
It's-
already happily
He
got
already
west.
has the other side, so it'd be 2 extra points. So if he's not gone for that objective, I'm really confused. So Steve piling in with those owl line chain rasps now. They shouldn't do. They'll do 1 or 2, maybe 3 wins to the Free Guild General, but it's their lack of any reasonable rend that's not going to really do much to the Free Guild General himself.
There are matchups where rend incredibly important. I mean, I know that Adam cited one of the strengths of his list as being it's got a lot of rend.
Yes, the
Not-
Free Guild General plus the big unit of Ren 3 stuff. Ren 3 is huge in Age of Sigmar too. Compared to you get a lot more than mortal wounds with it. A lot of stuff having extra saves against mortal wounds, etc. So that's the Griffin now attacking back. Ooh, that's a lot of 1s.
Oof.
That was a horrendous amount of 1s to roll on that to wound, but that just happens.
I mean, this is the thing. When you
On
roll a
the
lot of
Griffin.
dice, it does pretty much balance out. Yes, there's been some bad luck from Steve Curtis on his rolling when it comes to his
Zombie
Zombie
Dragon
Dragon early
saves.
doors.
Yep.
But equally, there's still not a Wildwood on the board. There's there have been various other
Yeah.
spots where Adam's had the unfortunate
Makes a
rolls.
big difference either way. Yeah. I think that's where the big units really come into their own. The more dice you're rolling, the more that they are likely to come out to averages. If you're only rolling 4 dice, then suddenly 1-1 makes a big difference. Whereas if you're rolling 120 dice, they're just much more likely to hit a much better distribution.
Absolutely. This is not Blood Bowl. We do not mind rolling lots of dice.
Exactly, yeah. That's why Blood Bowl is horrendous, because you're only rolling 1 dice at a time.
I like Blood Bowl a lot, but it has a very different ethos when it comes to...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You try and avoid rolling dice for as long as possible.
Yep.
We are actually looking at hosting a relatively large Blood Bowl event here later in the year.
Cool.
For those of you that is your poison.
Yeah, nice. Oh, it's a great space for Blood Bowl. It'll be really good. It not needing quite as massive a tables as AOS. You can fit twice as many Blood Bowl tables in this room.
That's the plan. All right, these guys just double checking some of the rules on the War Scrolls. One of the nice things, if you've got the Age of Sigmar app, absolutely fantastic resource for any serious tournament player.
Yep.
It means you can look up the War Scrolls of just about anything.
Yep, it's all we're using to double check rules on units right now. So you can get things incredibly fast through, and just make sure that you're not making a mistake, which is important when you're playing on these high tables. It's only game 1, but it's all to play for.
And also, honestly, looking at this field, you're not going to be able to dodge the good players for very long.
Yeah,
Realistically, if you have one round that happens to break your way in terms of matchups or scenario but suiting your army well, you can thank your lucky stars, but you can also be relatively confident that that's probably the only time it's going to happen to you all weekend.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, it looks like Adam has got control of the east objective.
So it's the Glade Guard. There must be 4 or so of them on the objective on that side. So that's the end of Adam's battle round 3. He will have 3 points for the west and east objective. He'll have an extra 2 for the middle objective for 5, and 1 more for the north objective for an extra 6 points this turn.
That meaning, lo and behold, we end up with Pew.
Adam goes 12-8 up. Steve's battle round 3 just starting.
And this is going to be an interesting round because I feel like some of these objectives are very takeable.
Especially for Nagash, yes. It looks like Steve's going to have to pull something out because Nagash can't be everywhere. And that unit of Grimghasts is now off. They're completely gone. Yes, the Azeroth must have killed the remaining 1 that the Demigryphs didn't kill. So that means he can only now summon them off of a gravesite. So here's some dogs.
I'm going to just turn up on the table now because we're in the hero phase and we know that that's when Nagash likes to do his
We
thing.
know this is Nagash's phase.
Go on. Yeah. So first spell I'm going to cast is Vile Transference. Cast on set board. 11, 12, 13, 14. Just can't stop it. Goes off twice.
Yeah.
So it's 2d3 more wounds to him.
Zeros on a 4 up.
2 more wounds.
So that is just the 2 more wounds through.
Spell 2.
Unlucky from Steve there to not get the Azeroth.
7.
Yep.
6, 7, 8, 9.
I'll try and stop that with the branch raid. Stops on a 10.
Spell 3.
Let's rotate that so no dispel with it.
Yeah.
Blood Bowl.
I'm going to do Van Hill's Dance Macabre.
Yep.
So get it on a 6. Just cast.
Another 3.
I'm going to stop that with the Tree Lord Ancient. Yep.
What's going on here? Nagash is just getting countered left, right, and centre.
Yeah,
4, Arcane Bolt.
really just dispelling the spells.
9, 10, 11, 12.
2d3.
Just 1d3.
Okay.
On him. 3 more wounds.
So that's more wounds onto the Griffin. Looks like he's already taken 9, so 12 wounds this will put him up to.
Combat as well. How many wounds did you do in combat? 3. That's for 9. It doesn't save any of those, and then 3 more. Saves all of them.
That was 3 6s from the mystical terrain going off to keep that general on Griffin alive. Yeah.
Overwhelming Dread.
Yep.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Remind me what that does.
Minus 1 hit, minus 1.
Imagine if Nagash didn't have the +3 in this game.
How many more spells have you got?
3 from him, 1.
How many mortal wounds can the bravery thing do?
D3 or D6. So I'm going to put minus 1 to hit these guys.
Yeah. What's the range?
18.
You should be in.
So that's 5. So going into 6, 7, 8, so 3 more. Oh yeah. Soul Stealer. 4, 5, 6, 7. Stretch cast.
Yep. You can have it, and that's all my spells.
All your spells. Okay, so I'm going to try. What's his bravery?
It'll be quite high because it's Stormcast. It is 9.
I'll try and do it on these guys.
Yeah.
9. So
Yeah.
beat the bravery.
It will do.
D3 mortals. 3 more wounds.
Policy Sigmar.
Oh no, the first of the lions is dead.
Okay. I'm going to cast portal.
Yeah, 5 wounds each though.
That's a lot.
Cast.
Yeah. So that's your 7 spells. So now we're going to pound of dust.
So here's the spell portal going down. So that's first spell portal next to Nagash, and then the other one is gone right next to the Griffin. So
So basically, I'm going to hold the dice.
Hand of Dust.
My lovely death dice.
You can see it on the
If you
stream.
pick the hand with the dice in, you're safe. If you pick the empty hand, you're more or less just removed.
He is alive.
People usually get upset about that and worry.
Adam keeping the face.
No, I knew which hand you had it in. I looked at you and you got colours on that sleeve and you're holding a red dice and you're like, I need to even myself up.
Exactly right. Right, okay, move
So
on.
Hand of Dust not getting the Griffin off free there, and Spell Portal now sitting on the table. So you'd have to recast that if the Griffin runs away. But always worth mentioning that Steve is looking for the priority going into Battle Round 4. He could still take that extra turn and go back ahead on the objectives. So it looks like Nagash is now come into play.
All right, so Nagash, you mentioned at the top of the show that he can be pretty tasty in a fight.
He's definitely going to kill 2 Demogryphs. I don't know if he also kills the Azeroth. I'm not sure how he's going to kill the Azeroth as well.
Now,
we'll have to see. So the other important combat being those direwolves charging into the 10 free guild and trying to take that western objective back for Steve. So if he can hold the south and west and get the middle back, that gives him 4 points to effectively draw back even at the end of this turn.
this has been a tight old game, and it's
Could go
really
very,
interesting
very
that
tight.
it doesn't feel to me like if all that we'd been doing was looking at figures taken off the battlefield each turn and not been looking at the score.
Yeah, then it would be in Adam's favour by quite a long way.
But as things stand, this is really close.
Yeah, getting that more than Adam's first turn priority roll. The important priority roll was the one that Adam got going into battle round 3, keeping the turn order the same. That meant that Steve couldn't get that unit of Grimgoss back up to full strength and get the charges off that he wanted to go and kill stuff with the Grimgoss and keep the middle for an extra turn. I think that made a huge impact on the game.
So it looks like Steve here just kind of beating something of a retreat from this Griffin, at least for now.
Well, he's retreated back out again, and he might be trying to get majority models back next to that eastern objective. If he can get both of those, I think it's going to be very unlikely. But he could get extra points for that. Sorry.
Games Workshop made a ruling on it. For VPs, makes no difference. If you bring them back, you don't get the points again. And for secondaries,
Okay, so we've got some Reapers reappearing.
Yeah, so that's that unit back for a command point, but they're not in the great place that they could have been further up the field than when so they've got to come back, as we said, on one of those back grave sites, because the other ones just have so many of Adam's models next to them that he couldn't get any decent placement on that unit of 20. Now, of course, they are back on the table, which is not looking good, but they can't really get into anything this turn. There's a 9-inch charge onto the Azeros, which probably gets him the middle objective back. That's pretty big, but I think Nagash is probably going to take that middle objective back anyway. So
now, that unit of Reapers that's on the table, do they count as summoned, or are they simply? Is it as if they've been healed?
They are summoned.
So in terms of secondary objectives, at least,
they are now ignored completely for the purposes of secondary objectives. You don't get extra VPs for killing them twice. They wouldn't count at the end of the game for
as a battle line unit, and
they're not a battle line unit anyway.
Could they claim a sixth of the table?
They can't claim a sixth of the table anymore. In terms of the secondary objectives, everything that has been summoned onto the table, which returning death models counts as summoning, is completely ignored.
So in principle, if you guys wanted to play with this pack at home, or if you're playing with a separate event, you could in principle just go, right, we've hit the end of the game, let's take all of the summoned units back off the table again, and now we'll figure out our secondaries.
Yeah, that's absolutely how you can do it. Yeah. And you ignore stuff that was summoned that was killed as well. So if, for instance, he summoned back, I don't know, a Necromancer, Adam wouldn't be able to get points for killing a wizard for that, or killing a non-enemy general hero.
All right, so Nagash has already taken one unit off the board.
He's taken the Azeros off, and now he's going for those 2 demigryphs. I think he should be able to take these, really. Nagash has some serious rend, and there they go. Straight off the board. So that's Nagash in combat, ladies and gentlemen.
Nagash kind of does it all, but crucially, next turn, if Adam gets the turn, all of those archers will be able to be brought to bear on the general.
But the important thing is he didn't get the charge on the western flank. So that is the end of Steve's turn. He takes the double turn. He gets out of his battle round 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 points to draw back even. And then he's taken the double turn to go into his battle round 4. This gives him a really, really good chance to get back. Now, that unit of 20 Grimghasts, going to be able to kill the general on Griffin, no problem. That's what I see happening. The Glade Guard could take some serious damage to any of the other stuff. Yeah, because there's quite a lot of direwolves coming back now. Yeah, this is Steve's round now. What a close game.
It's been a really interesting one, Matt. I've been really interested to see how early doors there was one sort of order of play, and then things have changed up quite a bit. We're going to go to the table, though, because Nagash is doing his thing. We like to hear what Nagash is up to.
Nagash is indeed going to do some spells at us.
Yeah, have it. 6 up. Oh, a bit baller.
2. Vial transference on 7. 7, 8, 9, 10. D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, I survived D3.
1. Yes, 6 up.
Ah! I didn't see that spinning.
3. Van Hill's Lance of Carbra. 8, 9, 10, 11.
Nagash just doing it all.
So the other thing now is that we are actually running out of time for the round. So
it's 2 hours and 45 minutes the round?
2 hours and 30 minutes in the pack, which I will double check, but I'm pretty sure that we need to end the game in 10 minutes.
Now,
so we started at 9:30. We could give these guys an extra 15 minutes on the stream. in order to finish, but I will make sure that they are aware of that. And other people will get the same extension, but it will cut into the lunchtime, which is.
If you need to jump off the mic just to let people know what's going on in that regard, I'm quite happy to.
I'm just going to check the pack in terms of how long there is left. That is not the right email.
Well,
It's a psychology spell.
it turns out that Adam is pretty safe against Hand of Death. So there's that. He's got that one going for him, even if everything else is going awkwardly.
That was last turn. Yeah. So overwhelming dread. So what's it, par 10?
Are we running slow?
10 minutes left technically in the round. Only 5 minutes.
I haven't stopped it.
Yes, like so. Let's go on these guys.
We're on round 4, Matt, so we'll get there.
And then Soul Stealer. Cards 8, 9, 10.
One final spell that can't stop you.
9, 10, 11. No, sorry, 11.
Oh.
And on a 12. So we're trying to do it on the Bravery.
Yeah, the Wizard, Bravery 7.
Fails.
Hi everyone,
That's it.
interesting
Right.
one though is there is 10 minutes left in this round. You can finish up if you want to take a little bit of an extension, then to just even out the turns, then you can, but it will start eating into your lunchtime. Kieran's going to be here in 10 minutes or so with the burritos, so make sure you've got your packs in.
Okay, so it looks like Direwolves lining themselves up to be able to get involved on this western flank.
Well, it's on a 1, I'll take mortal wounds, isn't it?
D3.
Ghosts are going to run.
So even though currently in round 4, these last few turns I would anticipate going comparatively quickly here.
It is a psychology. You would feel super cheated that way.
So that's Nagash going to just sit on the middle objective, is it? He might be going to try and kill as many of the glow guards as he possibly can and keep the middle objective.
And at this point, if you're Steve, especially knowing there's not that much time left on the round, is part of the concern figuring out your secondaries here?
Yeah, I think he's going to, because he's not going to be able to get that many points from the secondaries, he's just going to be trying to make sure that he wins the major, I think. I think he's going to be not thinking about the secondaries at all, if I'm perfectly honest. I think Adam might be starting to think about them.
I mean, conveniently for Adam, he's still got 2 battle line units. He's still got characters.
Yes, he's still got loads of characters. However, it looks like the General and Griffin's going to die this turn. The unit of Free Guild on the left-hand side could die this turn. The Glade Guard, if Nagash charges them, could well take a big loss this turn. So there's the Direwolves going into that unit of Free Guild to take that objective back. Here we see Nagash bash his way straight into not only the Nomad Prince but also the unit of Glade Guard, and then we'll see those Grimghast Reapers at the bottom going into the Free Guild General to try and take him off as well. That was a big turn from Steve to push back and try and take these objectives. Now there's Direwolves maybe just taking an extra little couple of chunks. Not sure how many wounds that Griffin's got left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wounds taken, I think. So it's not going to have many left, even if he's got the +1 wound from Giran. But I think enough that Direwolves aren't going to do it. So looks like the Grimghasts haven't charged.
They got a double 1.
Did they?
So
Oh, that's horrendous.
yeah, bit of a tough call for them. I mean, spectators in terms of secondaries, spectators in terms of combat.
Yeah. Oh, that's really harsh, that double 1 coming up, because it means he probably hasn't got that General and Griffin this turn, and that Griffin's going to charge into those Direwolves and take it back. Here go the Glade Guard.
And by here go, we mean here they go to the graveyard.
They're literally just all going to be taken off. This Nagash coming back in completely. In all likelihood, Yeah, in all well, actually that's not as many as I thought would be dead from Nagash's attacks.
I mean, Nagash has done his work. He's an old guy. He's been at this for longer than any of us.
So can you get gap? Just break. Like they both just put gap.
Okay, couple of direwolves taken off there, and you see Adam very carefully double checking exactly how many wounds that Griffin's taken. The Griffin staying alive one extra turn, a bit of a coup here.
Makes a huge difference, especially if has Nagash not killed the Nomad Prince on his left-hand side as well? Does that
Doesn't appear to have.
Yeah, 2 wounds. So that's going to make a big difference when it comes to if Adam has any command points left to give inspiring presence to those Glade Guard and keep them alive so that they can run away and survive for another turn.
Now, because those Glade Guard are in combat, they're not going to be able to do any shooting this next turn, right?
They're not going to be able to shoot unless they stay in combat, and even if they stay in combat, they have to shoot at the thing that they're in combat with, effectively.
And realistically, shooting Nagash, not necessarily the end of the world for Adam anyway, I wouldn't imagine.
That's sort of what they're going for, so maybe Adam's going to stay in combat and just take the Ren 3 shots on Nagash in his Battle Round 4.
These dire wolves, though, they are going to sweep up this left-hand side of our table as we're looking at it here.
Yeah. The Free Guild should stay alive. It's only 4 wounds, and they've passed all of the saves.
That means that we've got more Free Guild figures next to that objective than dire wolves.
Should be, yes. Absolutely should be more. So, yeah, they're just moving a little bit closer, make sure they have the models and those direwolves. I think Steve had to go for the chance, though. He's got so few units left on the board that if he did get a little bit lucky and kill enough of those Free Guild that some more ran away and he took control, they'd just take that objective, and that extra 2 points for taking both would make a massive difference.
Look at those 6s.
Yeah.
Big
So
high rolls from Adam.
Yeah, that's some dire wolves going off there. So they charged in and just lost 2 for their troubles.
Yeah, these Free Guild, battle line units, we've been saying it all the way through this round, just doing absolutely great work. And now we have attacks back here on Nagash. Adam's having to look through the rules on this one because, believe it or not, I wouldn't imagine these archers looking to do too much. A whole bunch of 6s here from Adam. Surely he's not going to take some wounds off Nagash with these archers.
Okay.
The moral victory there as archers successfully
Did a wound, I presume?
did a wound to Nagash.
Yeah.
But the thing is that even
little wounds makes a difference.
I mean, once he's not on full, that does impact his effectiveness, right?
No, he's unaffected until 3 wounds.
Okay, fair enough.
1 sec.
You both put Jack Arms.
So at the end of this turn, let's just double check the exact points. The middle is controlled by Nagash. The back one, so I believe that is 3 points picked up there by Steve. We'll just double check that with Matt to make sure that we've got the right scores in a minute before we update our graphic. We don't want there to be any kind of confusion there about how many points that we have going on. 1 second. I'm just going to double check those scores for you guys. Yeah, we're at 15. We're at 15 to 12 now, so we'll just get that up there. Nagash, he can only be in one place at once, and one place might not be enough at this stage in the game because with that Griffin still around, this is where Adam can potentially get all sorts of nonsense going.
Cool. Sorry, guys. TO duties call at the same time. Thanks to my partner in crime, TO, Kieran, off getting the lunch for the time being. So I apologise for jumping in and out of the stream, but I'm sure Tim is doing a good job of keeping you up to date on what's going on in the game. So this is Adam's Battle Round 4. Steve just getting the 3 points for the middle and the bottom last turn. Really nice.
Yep. It's the Griffin staying alive for this long has been pivotal.
It's made a huge difference. I want to see if Adam can really go for it and take Nagash off this turn. That will make a massive
I mean, if
difference.
Nagash is off this table, then I feel like from a narrative standpoint, the rest of the army should essentially be gone, and from a functional standpoint, it won't be that far off.
So here we go. He's going for Nagash. Yeah. So it looks like the Griffin's going to try and fit into that gap and charge him, and the Glade Guard are probably just going to stay. It looks like he's brought up cogs at the same time as well.
So there's two different modes on cogs. It could potentially mean that movements can be a little bit better.
Yeah, I think he's going to make movement better to ensure some charges, maybe from the Tree Lord Ancient onto Nagash, as well as the Griffin charge onto Nagash at the same time.
I am all right with seeing Nagash in a big old bun fight.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty horrendous. I think it's going to come down to how many Ren 3 shots do some wounds to Nagash in this turn.
And this is kind of what Adam built his army for, getting a lot of rend. And it's been a long time coming that he's really been able to exploit it in this round.
Yep.
But now that we're hitting round 4, all of a sudden we have the potential for Adam Cunis to be able to get something going here. Even just with how the board currently stands, if he did nothing this round,
Yep.
he would be picking up 1, 2, 3, 4 points this turn, putting him ahead on points going into round 5.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's before he does anything to the general in the middle of the battlefield for Steve Curtis here. Nagash, 800 points, sat on that middle objective, is going to be facing off against essentially Adam Cunis' entire army.
Yeah, I think pretty much everything is going to go for that. Yeah, everything's going to have to go for Nagash. You can't just sort of put half of your force into him because he'll just heal himself back up again. It's all or nothing. Same as the zombie dragon in first turn. He's really gone for it, and I think he's got to drop him this turn. Really, it surely has to happen.
Now, in terms of
This is going to be the Glade Guard shots.
okay, so here he's just looking to get. I mean, he's not looking to kill Nagash with this, but he's looking to get a reasonable chunk of damage through.
I think he's sort of looking for 5 or 6 wounds, maybe even more if he can. So these will have to be the rend shots.
Now, is it just the magic of Nagash that degrades on his stat line as he takes damage, or will he be worse in combat as well?
He's slightly worse in combat. Most of what degrades is his magical ability, which is going to have a huge impact on Steve's Battle Round 5 as well. And remember, Adam also doesn't have the Azeros, so he is he re-rolling ones? Yes, he is. So that must be from the Nomad Prince's command ability.
All right. A fair amount of hits.
Here goes the wounds. There's quite a few 1s and 2s. So 5 wounds on Nagash, 6 up saves from the Ren 3. None of them pass. 6 up saves afterwards. 4 of them come through.
4 wounds on Nagash. That's about what we were thinking. Maybe a touch on the low side, but certainly he'll have felt that one. And now we have the shot from the other side of things. Sadly, does not do any more to the Lich Lord. And now it's time to start looking at charges.
Ben, have you written your own name? This is that's yeah, no, it's just I meant to put a line.
Okay. Well, we knew the Griffin was going to get in. One of the interesting things here is going to be what the order of attacks is that Adam Cunis chooses to use here. I would guess that it's going to have to be the Griffin first. Just barely gets in another character here onto Nagash. Very, very tight roll on hitting that charge. +2 from the cogs, pivotal in making that charge, in fact.
Amazing, Tree Lord Ancient getting in as well. This is pretty good.
Will it have to be the Griffin attacking first here because it's so close to death?
It will have to be, yeah. And the Griffin doing the most damage by a long way. But one of the most important things being that Tree Lord Ancient stomp. I'm pretty sure they get that on a 4-up. It means Nagash is -1 to hit as well.
Okay.
So here goes the Griffin. Adam's really bringing it.
Yeah, you can see how
rolling
pumped
his
up he is
dice
at this
all over
point.
the floor and everything. That's all those hits. That's all of those wounds. Just rend 1, I think. Maybe rend 2 on the hammer.
All right.
3 fails. 3d3 becomes 7. Man, Griffin is having his day. So that leaves Nagash with 5 or 6 wounds left, I think.
And that's
Really.
before the general hits, right?
The general has hit. It's now the Griffin underneath that will be able to attack with his beak. So that's both hits from the beak and 1 wound from the beak, which Nagash fails.
That's a 2.
Does
2 more damage. One of them goes through.
Whoa. It's tight. It's very, very tight on Nagash. And this will be the talons.
He
And
makes
Nagash.
that save, just barely.
Yeah. This is so close. He's really, really bringing it in.
So, swords.
So Steve hitting as much as he can against the Tree Lord Ancient in order to take down his attacks before the Tree Lord Ancient gets to attack Nagash.
2, 3, 1 minus 2, 3 up goes to 5 up, loves it.
Staff, 3s, 2s, minus 3,
6 up, no,
d6.
3, takes him out of the top bracket. If I lose an attack, it's just d6 damage on it.
And then straight over. 5 hits, 6 is mortal,
Yeah.
1.
This is very hard work.
1 more to wound.
Rerolling 1s, 1 more wound.
That's it.
Cool, I'll attack back with him.
So here goes the Tree Lord Ancient attacking Nagash. He's taken 3 wounds, which pulls him out of the top bracket.
Tree Lord Ancient is in here.
This is about as close as it could be.
Really is.
And the thing is that even if this combat goes badly for Adam, he's still going to be at 16 points at the end of this turn.
Yeah, with some serious wounds done to Nagash, so it's looking pretty good.
2 massive two sweeping blows hitting on 3s. Yeah, stop hitting me. Wounding on 2s. 2. Rend 1.
So Nagash with 2 4-ups.
Have to make these d6 damage.
And he's failed them both.
This could be it for the Lich Lord.
Yeah. That is 9 wounds on Nagash. Nagash is gone, ladies and gentlemen.
You could hear the little cry of exultation there.
Yeah. That
So-
was really all or nothing for Adam there. But fair play. Got cogs off when he needed it. Really, really, really smart play from Adam, actually.
Now, who's got this middle objective?
There will be
It looks-
more of those Grimghasts in, I presume. So yeah, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 Grimghasts, which compares with possibly Tree Lord, Ancient, Griffin, and nothing else by the looks of things. So I think the middle objective stays under Steve's control for this turn.
What's this other attack that's going on here?
This will be the Freeguild Generals on the Dire Wolves at the side.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, not as important as killing Nagash at all.
It's just a surprising number of rolls.
Just a little side note about killing things compared to the Freeguild themselves. They're pretty nice and tanky. They're really good.
So at this point, it's kind of mopping up time, and
It is
in
indeed.
principle, I mean, it's the sort of thing that looking at secondaries, there's still 1 battle round to go.
There is indeed, yeah. So I'm not sure what Steve is going to be able to pull out of this game in terms of secondaries. It's going to be tough.
He's got a couple of dire wolves.
Yeah, he's got 2 Dire Wolves on the right-hand side, 1 on the left. He's still got the unit of 20 Grimghasts, so basically for secondaries, he needs to go and kill as many of Adam's heroes as he possibly can. Now, that unit of 20 Grimghasts can still go and kill the heroes.
I mean,
even though
if
they're
you're a
summoned.
Griffin right now, is it time to beat a hasty retreat?
Well, he can't. It's gonna. Well, no, that's true. Adam could win the roll into battle round 5 and then basically run away as fast as he can.
Or carefully run to various quadrants of the board, one must assume. So Adam Cunis' score going up to 16 now, I believe.
Yeah, I'm good. Nice. So we haven't had the priority roll yet.
It's going to be a big one.
It is.
They're always big. I don't know. At some point, I'm going to stop
No,
saying this.
No, we should have had the priority roll because it is now Steve's 5.
Steve.
If Steve is going, then it must be turn 5. So game incredibly close going into about round 5. Adam just sitting 1 point up with maybe 5 minutes of play left. They're just seeing what they can clean up. Steve is probably going to try and get that right-hand side objective.
And he can potentially kill the Griffin here.
And kill the Griffin, yeah. That's his objectives in this turn. And then Adam will need to effectively get back the middle objective, and then he guarantees the win.
So the final turn, it will be relevant even for the major.
Probably will, yeah. Yeah, I think it'll make a difference, because Steve's going to be getting 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 points out of the turn, putting him on 19. So Adam is going to need to take that middle objective back. And then he wins by 1.
So they're just double checking on how much time. We've got about 5 minutes left on this. So this is going to be some speedy AOS to complete our round 1 here. We hope you've been enjoying what you've seen thus far. We will have, of course, the full video up available. It'll be hanging around on Twitch for a little bit of time, but what we're probably going to try and do is transfer it across so that you can watch it in perpetuity.
Yep.
Adam will just be sat there at home clicking refresh on that little 5 minutes of zombie dragon fight.
Yeah, he can listen to all the times where I thought he made mistakes. But at the end of the day, it looks like he's pulled the win out of the bag. And what a game to watch for Game 1 of Angelcore.
Couldn't have asked for a better game to start off with.
I really hope all the other games are this tight and this close, because this has been a joy to watch. So that's the Grimghast Reapers. They're going to kill all of those Glade Guard.
And that's denying some secondaries for a kickoff.
That's denying Adam a secondary point for keeping battle line units alive, yes.
And also potentially making it hard for him to control quadrants.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think either of these players are going to be scoring very high on the secondary objectives because it's been such a tight fight on the major.
So yeah, whoever ends up in these dying stages of the game losing out on the major could find themselves in a bit of a points hole come round 2.
Yeah, it could well be somebody sitting on less than 5 points, maybe less than 3 points from the secondaries, because it's going to be very tough for them to pull anything out. Not sure how many command points each player is currently sitting on, so they could get some secondary points from holding on to 2 command points. But in general, yeah, there's really not much left on the table. So it's hard to score those secondary points if pretty much everything is dead. And that Griffin is not going to be alive.
No, it seems like, I mean, it's performed above expectation, I would say.
Yeah, it has done very, very well.
And it's something that, with each successive stage of that Griffin getting painted up, it's been gradually performing better for Adam.
Yeah, better painted models, they do play better.
Those Instagram likes spurred him on to finally be able to actually kill off a zombie dragon.
Yep. Yeah, this looks... I mean, the Griffin has outperformed every other time that he's played in any practice game for Adam. This has been very impressive.
All right. Whole lot of dice. We can't imagine that too many of them are really going to be needed here. But
no, must be the Grimghasts. Yeah, they are very good at killing the hordes. So that big unit of Blade Guard's not going to be too happy. But so many misses from Steve. 4 wounds.
Well, there's more than 4 figures there.
Yeah, that doesn't look good.
And this is his final round, so.
This is, yeah, that's all Steve's going to be able to do. This is all of his attacks. But he should get the Griffin here. I think it's 1 or 2 wounds left based on that pile of gems that Adam has there. That's represented.
Though given the realm that we're in, we believe that it has one more wound than its
Yes.
natural starting complement.
Yes, I believe that would have gone onto the Griffin, not the Tree Lord Ancient, which are the two picks. But I think in general you would put it onto the Tree Lord, onto the Griffin, not the Tree Lord.
All right. You never know.
There it goes.
Little fist bump there from Steve as he finally manages to.
There it goes. It did have Mystical, so that was this extra set of saves just in case Adam rolled like six sixes or something. But there is now a hole where the Griffin used to be.
Yeah, look at that. Almost a perfect template of Griffin-y
base.
goodness.
So it's going to be pretty tough.
So he's going to have middle, rear, and center, south, and east.
Yeah, exactly. Center, south, and east for 4 points at the end of this turn.
All right, just mopping up the last of our combats here.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't look like much is going to be able to happen, but man, there is really not very many left. So did these Grimghasts get a double pile-in?
Oh, potentially.
Yeah.
From the Necromancer.
I think they got a double pile-in from the Necromancer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, definitely. That's a big difference. They're going to be attacking quite a lot to get those. I mean, they only killed 4 last time, but there's a lot more that now don't have to attack the Griffin.
So, by my count here, Steve is going to be scoring 2 for the center, and he's going to be scoring 4, going to 19.
He is indeed. So that's why Adam needs to
He'll
take back the middle, which is going to be tough. Look at the amount of spirits that are sitting around that middle objective. It's so close. I really don't see actually how Adam's going to take back the middle.
This is...
It's going down to the absolute wire, this game. So close.
We talked about it as being a grudge match at the start of this tournament, and you know what? These guys have delivered.
Yep, they really have. So many wounds to go through on those Glade Guard. They really need to take out a lot of them here, or else the shots back are going to really hurt, as we saw earlier in the game when the unit of Grimghasts was a new, not the summoned version.
I mean, without this summoned unit of Grimghasts here, it would not be close.
Yeah, that's true, yes. Them coming back on, I mean, they failed the charge as well. In
spite of that, yeah.
And in spite of that, so they could have killed the Griffin a turn earlier, which made a massive difference to Adam holding on. It just keeps swinging back and forth, this game. It really, really is very, very close. So Adam's actually looking to see if he can try and take back that eastern objective from the 3 direwolves.
And the eastern's worth the same amount to him as the center, right?
Yes, because he definitely holds on to the west-hand side.
Cog's still in effect.
Cog's still in effect, which is how the Grimghasts got in so easily. So that's why they seem to charge way across the board.
Yeah, Adam you can see he's taken away the movement trays because he wants to make sure that the edges of his model's bases at this stage are exactly where he needs them to be.
Yeah.
At this point, he knows that he's not going to be shifting these guys all over the board.
Well, he's trying to make sure that he keeps control of that objective for this turn while Steve. So Steve must have about 6 models.
Now the summoned
on it.
Grimghast do count for controlling objectives
They
to the
do
major.
Indeed, yep, they just don't count for victory points or the secondary objectives. That's all. So yes, they do indeed count as models towards scoring that. So that 3 direwolves. You'll be adding maybe 3 Grimghast or so, but it looks like Adam has regained control of that objective. That's going to give Steve only 3 points.
So Steve goes to 18.
Yes. And again, that is dependent on Adam passing the battle shock test. Now, he hasn't left himself one model to be in the Inspiring Presence range. So it's going to be a very, very dicey
So
battle shock
I've
test.
updated a little early. I apologise for that.
Yeah,
I had forgotten that we had one more combat. My apologies.
And there is a possible battle shock test to take on those guards. Yeah.
Okay, so it's... In many respects, it seems unlikely to me that this combat is going to prove to be important this turn on its own. Though I guess 2 turns in a row of attacking on Adam's character there could prove important.
Yeah. Yeah, it could make a big difference. So that's the battle shock test failed, and all of those blade guards drop.
And that means that we have
That yes, Steve gets the full
4 points. Goes to
full 4
19.
points.
Big battle shock there.
Yeah,
it was
so-
always going to be tough for those elves to
Well,
get past there.
So an option that Adam had is to leave one model next to his Nomad Prince that you can see near the middle of the board. Then he would have been able to activate Inspiring Presence on them, meaning that the big block on the right-hand side didn't die. He would have then had to remove the one model because of lack of coherency, but he still could have left that big block on the right-hand side.
He's
So
finally got a wood.
He has finally got a wood on the table. Don't think it's going to help him now,
No.
but he's still got it.
This is the final turn of the game. Battle round 5 for Adam.
3 points to get. He's got 2 points on the board. I don't know how he's going to get any more. I think this looks like Steve's game.
Well, he really doesn't have very many figures to play with here, does he?
No, that's the thing. Those 20 Grimghasts have come back onto the table and made a huge impact on getting the secondaries. So I just don't see how Adam's going to get that middle objective back. Steve must have 10 Grimghast and there must be maybe 5 or so of the bigger unit, and Adam's just got no way to get it back. So he must be trying to get some secondary points. It's going to be 1 point in it, I think. I think Steve's going to take it 19 to 18 at the end of this round. That's my prediction.
Yeah, lots of really small decisions in this game, and
Yeah, all comes down to those little decisions adding up. Adam seems to be going for it, charging the free guild.
I mean, you've got to try.
Yeah, I mean, Cogs is still up, so they're on +2 to that charge. So they could maybe make it in towards the.
I mean,
towards that
if they get in on this charge and they can kill a reasonable number of...
It's effectively adding 10 models back into that middle combat, and Adam keeps control of the objective on the back corner. So it's still incredibly close. Now Steve's removing some models just so that Adam's charge is longer. So those free guild that have sort of lined themselves up on top of the wood on the left-hand side, they're going to be quite a long way away, even with Cogs.
So what, they're getting killed off by shooting from Adam?
Yeah, looks like it.
Okay, so we don't know quite how many command points Adam has, but if he has any left, this is a very, very important charge for him.
This is the big charge, yeah. Needs a big number. It's going to be huge.
He's doing the little charge first.
It's not a big number. So that's that charge. That's just the branch witch.
Yeah, that charge was always going to be comparatively straightforward. Looks
this
like
charge looks like about a 7 on the dice with Cogs.
That's an 11.
That's big.
That is
With Cogs, yeah.
13 with Cogs.
Oh, it's so big. So those have made it into the combat.
And he gets to put them all into the combat at the end of the combat that's closest to the objective marker.
Absolutely, yeah. So he's not going to let those Grimghasts pile in towards his models. Mostly that Nomad Prince pinning them in. So Adam could take back the middle objective here and take the win by 1 point for himself. This is going to come down to the final combat to see who wins.
Now,
I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat.
for those of you that don't watch so many games of Age of Sigmar, Matt, do you get many games closer than this?
This is especially close, I would say. I'd say, especially for a game one of a as we say Swiss paired tournament. The fact that this one, you'll see quite a lot of very swingy scores where one player has wiped out because of the difference in either skill of the player or army list matchups. But that'll even out towards the end. So generally, the games towards the end of the tournament, they'll be a lot tighter. And you'll see quite a few, hopefully tomorrow, go to this kind of tightness. But in round one, this is rare to see such a close game. And that's the only reason that we're letting it run over for time, because we couldn't really have called it at the end of battle round 4. As you can see, this is going to come down to the absolute final combat.
Yes, this is...
So Steve trying to get more Grimghast Reapers onto that central objective for the final count. So that looks like he's maybe going to add 2 or 3 more into that middle combat.
This is bedlam.
Yeah. The amount of Grimghast Reapers that Adam kills doesn't really matter, though, because Steve can just take them off that far line all the way out of combat.
And he doesn't care about unit coherency at this point in any great...
He'll pile them in, but it doesn't make any difference, no.
Yeah.
The other thing is, do they still have a double pile-in? In
Oh
which
my.
case, I think they do still have a double pile-in, and they are going to kill the Nomad Prince, and then they're going to kill the Tree Lord Ancient, which means they can't get in and killed, but there's going to be... I think Steve is still going to, thanks to that double pile-in, get more of them next to the objective.
I've got 2 troops, so all going around for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 Reapers in total. Yeah. So 4's to hit, rerolling 1. Yeah.
Taking the terrain out.
Now you want to roll 4s. Perfect. 3's through.
So these are the attacks on the Tree Lord Ancient.
8 or -1, so you need to fire every single one.
8. 4s. Rerolling 1 from Mystical Shield. I failed 4, so I take 4. Borrow from the Griffin Pool. He's going to attack the Chain Rat.
Yep.
He's found a printer at lunch.
We have a printer, one of the various things that we have here at Magic Madhouse.
Yep.
So that 1 attack my sweeping blows hit on 3s. Yeah, winning on 3s. No. 1 attack with Impale on a 3 and a 3.
Nope.
On a 4 now. No, still a 3, but doesn't work. That's it, your activation.
Okay, Chain Wrath, you're going to go into
So
4.
Tree Lord Ancient doing nothing.
4's to hit. 4's to win.
Branch Witch is 3 attacks.
Adam really needing to play some more practice games to learn his attacks. But I suppose he is currently attacking with a wizard.
4s. 2.
5 up.
1. That's it.
Out of range.
Your activation, you're done.
So that's no second pile-in from the Grimghast Reapers. I think maybe we missed it. They didn't have it this turn. Oh, of course, because Steve had round 5.
Yes.
Yeah, so they didn't have it this turn.
10, 11, 12, 13.
And Steve has, for the win, so
Wow.
that is by 1 model, the central objective goes to Adam for a win by 1 point. Adam wins by 1 point by 1 model on the central objective. 13 models control the central objective for Adam. 12 of Steve's models are in range. So Adam takes the middle back for 4 points to go to 2019. What a game, ladies and gentlemen.
Wowzers, trousers, that was close.
We're going to go have some lunch now, I guess. We're going to let these two count up their points. We'll put up the round draw, and we'll be back at 1:30.
Yeah, 1:30 we'll be back live. I would say don't go anywhere. Feel free to go somewhere, just don't go somewhere for too long.
Yeah.
And we'll be back soon.